station, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall, lengthless with volcano, made of new metal alloys, some of which have not yet been invented, capable of standing in stress several times more than gravity experience, paired together with a precision better than the finest watch, carrying all the equipment needed for propulsion, guidance, control, communication, and survival on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body. And then returning safely for us, we enter the atmosphere.
What's going on, Malcolm? Can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear, brother. What's going on? How was your night?
Oh, okay, good. Happy birthday.
Hey, thanks, man.
Happy
Appreciate
birthday to
it.
you and your bro.
Yeah.
What's your brother's name, by the way?
It's Maliki.
What's your brother's name? Maliki. Happy birthday to Malcolm and Maliki today, May 18th.
Malcolm and Maliki.
Did I say it wrong?
Nope, that's perfect. The M&M twins.
Awesome.
I'll get him in here eventually.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to walk around to that building section. 1 second.
He's zoning out on the couch right now, rehabbing his knee. He's been binging The Last Kingdom for the last week.
What's that, a show on Netflix?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one about Vikings and, you know, that kind of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I think I've seen the trailers for that one.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Did you ever, on YouTube, do you ever watch those scenes where there's some guy or gal that takes these sword seams and they exchange them out with lightsabers?
Yes, I love some of the Lord of the Rings ones and also the Game of Thrones ones.
Game of Thrones ones are great. Yeah, Lord of the Rings are some good scenes. Yeah, those are good ones.
I love the fight from Game of Thrones season 5 where they fight Dane, the great swordsman.
Yes.
And they redid that with the lightsabers. That's awesome. All right, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Oh, you know what? Let me, I got to run back to the other side real quick. Let me make my screen a little bit bigger. So maybe you could see what I'm doing. No. Oh, there we go. Okay. What'd you and your brother do so far today?
So there's a coffee chain around here in Southern Oregon called Dutch Brothers, and they do free coffee on your birthday. So we got out this morning and drove through and got our free Kahlua kickers, a little extra sweet on the hot side. And then about 3 hours later, I drove through a different Dutch Brothers and got me something else. And then when I'm done here, I'm going to go back to another Dutch Brothers and get something else.
Man after my own heart. I'll drink like 2 or 3 coffees in a day, no problem.
No problem, exactly. And then when they're free, you just kind of go to as many stands as you can. You know, so.
And then when it's your birthday, you just like all caution gets thrown to the wind. You just can do whatever you want. So
yeah, that's right. Free day.
Multiple everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just about it. Picking up the house a little bit, getting ready for a big barbecue tonight. All the kids are coming over. It's going to be good.
You guys have a combined birthday. Do they? Does anybody else in the family have like a close by birthday that you know you celebrate together with them too, or are you guys?
Yeah, the last few years we've been doing it with our dad. Our dad is born May, or his birthday is May 17th, but he passed away last year, so this will be our first birthday without him. Mm-hmm. What else? My son Christian, his birthday is May 15th. So, but he's in the military. He's in the Air Force up in Portland, so he won't be here.
Anybody that's joining us, we are working on Malcolm's lightsaber. It's this lightsaber right here. This is the bare bones body of it, and then we're just making a bunch of shrouds and a bunch of unique pieces to go on top of it.
And for those of you who don't know, we've been sanding for 48 hours straight.
Yeah, I actually
the last time I saw Space last night, he was doing the exact same thing.
I actually switched out with my twin, so that's what you guys didn't know.
Yeah, I don't think he stopped.
When I walked that way and came back, it was a different me. So yeah, so I was thinking I would take this piece that we're gonna put above the pommel and see if I could fit that on today and actually slide that on so we can get a look at like the girth of how that'll be, and then maybe see if I can get this piece finished enough so that we could at least get a look of what that's going to look like on there. That would be pretty sweet. And then maybe even, I don't know if I'll get that far, but maybe even cut that piece for the Qui-Gon part.
Yeah.
That would be good. And that'd be quite easy because I could make like a pipe cutter cut and it won't have to be too messy.
Right. So I've been, what'd you say, Bub? Sorry. So I've been staring at that. I watched that video pretty closely today from last night, and what we were talking about, that Qui-Gon piece.
Yeah.
We were thinking of maybe going black underneath it. I think. What are your thoughts about keeping it all silver underneath it, since there's so much of that silver underneath it already? I mean, is that piece just kind of clamp over all of that silver?
It might make more sense now. Yeah, because when you see through to the crystal chamber, and that's going to have some silver bits when you see through there. Yeah. So that kind of makes more sense now that the one piece. Yeah. I think originally when we talked about it in the video, like early in the video yesterday, we were kind of saying it when it was a separate piece. And then when we combine the pieces, it probably makes more sense the way you're saying it, where we don't have it painted underneath. That way that whole section looks like it's one underneath piece, even though, part of it will have a crystal chamber. I'm going to hide the seam. Like you won't see the seam that's here because I'm going to, like there's a seam that separates the crystal chamber and the extender piece. So what I'm going to do is we're going to not see that seam at all because, it's going to be covered with shroud material, and then the slits will be like evenly spaced so it doesn't fall in line with that seam.
Yes. Cool.
And then I was thinking, like, in regards to this piece, I was thinking about this morning, how kind of eyeing it up on the choke, that the Qui-Gon slits should probably also be in line with wherever these lie. So I have to finish this piece first before finalizing that Qui-Gon piece, because I do want, like, when you look at it from the side, you know, instead of like, you know, we don't want it to be like jagged design elements. We want everything to be streamlined. So like this line should line up with that, and then like all those slits hopefully will make them in those, you know, inlines. And then hopefully sometimes when that happens, we get a little bit lucky where like other things that were just on the hilt already might line up. And we'll play with that, you know, to align things properly.
Awesome. Sounds good to me.
And sometimes happy accidents happen, you know. So we need to aim towards those. Yeah, we're going to aim towards those happy accidents and kind of assure that they happen.
So I heard you also talk about you were thinking of doing the recharge port on that big signature piece that you've been working on.
Possibly, because I did like it on, if you take a look at, I think the video, it's probably 3 or 4 years old now, maybe 2016 or 2017. I did a lightsaber, and it tells you how long ago it was because of the board had a Crystal Focus LS. And I think it was called like lighted grips or lighted RGB grips, that video. And it was for Stephen Powell, Stephen P, it might say in the video. And you could check that out actually, because that was the first hilt I used this pipe with. And I put the recharge port like directly in the center with a nice, if I remember correctly, I think it was even recessed in there. I think it came out really, really cool, and it was like well hidden, but it also looked like a saber greebly. You know, it ended up looking like a faux recharge port, but it was a real recharge port. So if you like that idea, you know, we can. That's probably a few days away still, because that drilling of that will probably happen after I secure the piece. Like I'll secure the piece down with screws, and then that'll be like the 3rd hole, you know, or the 5th hole, depending on how many screws I put in there.
Cool. Sounds good to me, man. Love it. So I wanted to mention to you, if if you couldn't tell already just by listening to me and getting to know me yesterday, I'm not the most techie guy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, as far as, you saying I want to be able to have this saber easy for Malcolm to get into and, to do all the, is there a lot of things that I'm going to need to be getting inside of the saber for?
Not really, like a lot of people
I think we can just program it with just a handful of really bitchin' sound fonts that I've heard over the,
And then you might not ever have to touch it, like if you don't really want to, like
that would be ideal for me, because I'll mess it up, dude. I will get in there and I will ruin everything.
Yeah, so I can just set it up. Like if you have some, I don't know if you sent me anything through email, like any preferences. Some people have like a preference where they say I want like a Graflex font on there, or it's got to have like Luke voices. Some people know what they want on there. And I could put that on there for you, and then you won't have to really bother with it later, or I had
we'll figure that out.
I had a customer that told me he didn't want any of the voices. He didn't really like the voices. So when someone says, hey, I'm Luke Skywalker, he wanted to pretend like he was the hero, not like one of these other characters. So it just all depends like what you want.
Yeah, I'm a little partial to that too. I'm not a real big fan of hearing the voices on all the fonts.
Yeah, especially when the saber doesn't connect to one of the characters. It's kind of, why would this saber shout like a Darth Vader thing? So but exactly. Of course, if you wanted that, I get it, because you could have maybe a red blade, and then you'd be like, this is for when I watch Return of the Jedi, whatever it is. I get it. I get that too.
Mm-hmm.
But some fonts are like made specifically for, like, let's say you have a Darth Vader saber, and there's some people that make really excellent fonts for like Darth Vader, and then they might even connect it to like Rogue One. Like this is directly from Rogue One, those sound fonts. So that's pretty sweet too if you're into that type of exactness. Some people have the Darth Vader Rogue One version of the lightsaber. There's like minor differences between each movie.
Yeah.
Some people are real sticklers for being accurate in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they are definitely, some of those people are pretty hardcore loyalists.
Yeah, like I know a couple friends that have a
I'm
whole wall.
Like as long as it looks totally awesome and sounds amazing, that's all I care about.
Yeah, and it's kind of unique. So you probably have your own idea of your own Sith character or your own Jedi character or whatever, and that's kind of how I imagine it too. You know, I have kind of a character in my mind, like who I would maybe be in that universe, and then my saber was kind of made up to aim at that in that direction of the Jedi assassin or whatever my story was that I told my friend that I wanted.
So what is your best lightsaber that you've ever done? A personal saber? Like what's
that I've made or that
you've made for yourself? Like, is there one saber that you own? You're like, this is my Mac Daddy saber. This is my go-to.
Yeah, that's my Jedi assassin, but I didn't make it. That's my friend Mike Darth Chasm on FX Saber forums. He made that for me. I'm kind of the opposite of like a real Jedi in the sense that like a real Jedi would probably make their own saber, but instead I'll make like your saber for you, and I have someone else make my saber for me. So I'm not, I'm really not like a Jedi that's going to make his own saber in our world. I don't know, for whatever reason, the sabers I make, I usually like, I have someone in mind who I'm making it for, like you. And when I'm going to get a saber, I like someone else to make it for me.
No, that's cool. Yeah, like a custom. Yeah.
I think it's because, you know, there's maybe a couple things that I couldn't do, or especially either because of machining or because of experience at the time. But I wanted something with an internal chassis that was really like a Koran horn, but not like a Koran horn, was more of a unique design, but was based off of something like a Kyle Katarn or a Koran horn, and something rooted in that Return of the Jedi, like post Return of the Jedi era. That's what I really liked. So Mike really got that idea. And when I kind of wrote him either a little story about like what I thought a Jedi assassin was like some kind of Jedi who acts almost in a 007 style way for the Jedi Order, a secret agent type of thing. And Mike got that idea, and so he understood that like the saber wasn't going to be very shiny and wasn't going to be very bright, because as far as the hilt body, because the idea of the character was like he infiltrates, he's like a ninja, he goes in, maybe drops in the air duct, maybe like maybe stabs somebody. It's not really the Jedi way, but the Jedi need it done like one way or the other. They're not telling anybody. Maybe it's someone at the top, you know, like a Yoda type, but that's kind of maybe like a Mace Windu going behind the scenes saying, listen, we need this done. We need to make sure, just like how Mace Windu used this special sword form, Vapad, because it skirted close to the dark side, but he could control that. I feel like my character, at least in my mind, he would be able to skirt close to the dark side, but not cross the line of going to the dark side. Like just like kind of like Mace Windu, he wanted to kill Palpatine kind of because he thought it was the only way. So when the Jedi come to that conclusion, like the only way is to kill this person because maybe they're a Sith Lord, whatever the case is, they would maybe send me in the background. I drop down in the air duct, I kind of stab somebody, and I run out the back door. So that was my idea. So the saber wasn't going to be all shiny and stuff because it'd be like it's supposed to be a tactical tool. So, you know, those type of things played into his design of what he made it. And he made the whole thing where it's got a crystal chamber, and it even has a special crystal that he found for me, and he lit it up in the color of Viridian, which is the color of the blade I was making. Because, you know, this is the time when Crystal Focus LS like doesn't do all the RGB color changing that like yours will do. So it's just you pick a color, and he said, what color are you making the blade? You know, I was going to make it this really like light green color. So he found a way to light the crystal. That took him a long time. He found a way to do a couple things I wanted at the time. This ended up being really awesome, and I love that saber. It's really cool.
So where do you keep all your special sabers? You keep them, you put them like up on shelves in your house, or do you keep them out there in your spaceship? I'm sorry, you know.
Yeah, sometimes I try to keep them out here, but they kind of get dusty out here because of all the metal that's flying around. So yeah. I got a couple glass boxes that I think they're for, like, when people get like rocks and different collectibles, things like that. I think these, I forget what the boxes were called, but it's something like nature display box or like whatever it's called. So it's like a glass box. I bought 2 of those, and I keep my like 2 most special lightsabers. I have a JSK, which is a Jaina solo lightsaber from the expanded universe that one of my best friends, Bombarda, made for me, Gary, a few years back. And that's behind that glass case. And then I have the lightsaber that Yoda made for me off FX Sabers forum. I kind of test all my blades with. So that's like out a lot of the time. And I kind of carry that around to like test stuff. And then I have my Jedi Assassin, which I kind of keep out as well. I play with that one. I have that Qui-Gon that I showed you yesterday.
Yes, I've seen that one.
What do I do with that? I think that one's in the other glass case normally, but for the past month or 2, I've had it out because I've been playing with that one a little bit, kind of deciding if I'm going to maybe try to sell it. I don't know. I'm like, you know, I do like the idea of having a Qui-Gon and the Anakin, who I feel like if Qui-Gon was alive for Anakin's training, like things would have turned out a lot differently.
Right.
And so I really like the idea of those 2 characters, the alternate universe where they might have been around together. And if Darth Maul didn't kill Qui-Gon, he would have been around maybe and trained Anakin a different way, a little bit better. He was more experienced than Obi-Wan. And so I like the idea of having his saber along with Anakin's Padawan saber, which I did finally get. It's a Ultimate Works Anakin that KR Sabers did for me. Because, you know, sometimes it's like I'm just too busy like doing stuff for other people that when it comes time for my own thing, if I don't ask someone to do it for me, it won't happen. Like I have this EXAR KUN lightsaber that I've been wanting to make for probably like 7 years. I started it 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. I started it and I've got it in a plastic container here, but it's like every time I turn around, I'm kind of behind on something. You know, I'm behind on your thing, I'm behind on someone's thing. And when I get behind on one thing, like there's no backup. So I'm behind on everything. Like, you know, in 2017, I got behind on my friend Tim's lightsaber. And that kind of set me back for 2017, 2018, and 2019. I got behind because it took me an extra like 30 days to figure out his situation. It was one of the first pixel sabers I was doing. And it was really complicated. Maybe it was farther back than that, but that kind of set me back because I didn't have any way to like catch up, you know.
Right.
And then a couple other times,
you're a one-man show.
Yeah, a couple other times things, you know, got bad too, where I had to like learn something, and it might have taken 2 or 3 weeks, and that set me back on whatever project.
Yeah. So do these guys that you reach out to, and I'm familiar with some of those names, do they get pretty stoked when you reach out and want to have them do a personal saber? I mean, because you're like one of those guys, you know, what are you up to, like 12.5 million followers now?
No.
You're like the guy, dude. Last time I checked, I think it was like 12.5 million. No. I think just our video alone yesterday, there's like 1.2 million that looked at it since just last night, you know. I mean, that might have had something to do with me showing up and being on the video.
Definitely. You brought everybody to the party.
Yes. You're welcome.
A big party going on today. It's a saber party. Saber the moment. Let's see if Melissa's World is here. Hello, Melissa.
Hey, Melissa.
No, we just started. We just started a couple minutes ago. We'll be here for a little while. Malcolm might not, because he's got a party to attend to, his own party. I don't know when that's starting, but he's got a barbecue to go to. But I'll be here for a while. Recently turned on YouTube's dark theme, and it helps a little bit. Oh, great. Yeah, I've been using that one too. And using a screen reader. I don't have to use my screen reader too much. So that's good. How's the Saber coming along? She says, happy birthday, guys.
Thank you.
It is coming along pretty good. I got a couple parts. Got a couple parts I kind of want to be able to slide on there today and see how they fit. So I'm putting a bevel on one of the lower parts.
Hey, Mace, can we can we flip up that Saber where that top of that Vader part sticking straight up? Oh, bro, what have you been hiding that from me? Look at that thing. Woo! Oh, my goodness. Hey, what's up, bro? Come on in here. Say hello. I got my bro with me. Are we on delay? No, right there. Dude, is that your hilt thingamabobber?
Yeah.
That's my hilt thingamabobber.
Happy birthday, my friend.
Thanks, man.
Hope you guys enjoy your day, enjoy your night, enjoy your barbecue. We're just just building a Saber for your bro.
Yeah, that thing looks sick, dude. Is that it right in front of you?
Yeah. And then we're just adding some of the parts that are gonna like slide over top. That's like the bare bones like skeleton of it. It'll be a little bit beefier when we're done, because it's gonna add some girth to it, some details.
Cool.
And light it up.
Put what side are you gonna hang the rainbow beads from? Because my brother's kind of gay like that.
Well, he could have a rainbow lightsaber blade.
Yeah,
that's a part of the new board. So
yeah, I've seen that before. Space. That is crazy how that whole rainbow wave, or just one solid color. I think it looks awesome in red.
Yeah, I have a video coming out probably later today. It's a video recorded a couple days ago, and part of it has that rainbow blade in there. It's just like a blade demo, but the Profi has some new rainbow and some just overall all different blade stuff, all new stuff that comes out all the time. And I know Plexa Labs also, does some updates from time to time and adds new blade styles. So that rainbow thing is just like one of the things you could see, but there's like different fire, there's like light, there's crazy stuff.
Am I going to have the type of Eternals in my Saber to be able to do that? Have that set up on my blade, or? Yeah,
like that's just going to be the matter of pushing a button for you. So like, I'll show you that.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's just going to be like you'll push both buttons at the same time, or like be able to scroll through these different blade styles.
Yeah. And we were, I think I mentioned this before on one of your videos. Do you think that amber blade is still one of the best that's going to enhance every color? Like, I love the Photon blade. I'm just not a fan that I don't get my blues.
Yeah. The amber is really, really cool. It makes blue, like there's a couple blues you don't see properly with the amber blade, but there's certain blues that the amber blade enhances. So if you like cyan and those like light blue colors, the amber blade's really nice for that. It makes those really, really unique. But the deeper blues like that, let's say like a Clone Wars Anakin or Obi-Wan blue, that doesn't come through properly on that amber. But almost every color does like come through really nice. The greens are enhanced. The purples don't look proper either, but it's not like the Photon where they're obliterated,
Yeah, the Photon, you can't see them at all. The greens are amazing, but if you'd still like the blues, it's like I'm wondering if I almost need to get two blades someday.
The blue is a great compromise. You know, if you're like leaning toward amber though, that amber is really nice, and it's you know, like your saber, it's very unique. It's a really I think I've only made one. It's a really badass color. The one that I made was for, well, I mean, I haven't made just one, but I mean, as far as sold, I think, no, maybe no, because Malcolm from Brooklyn got one too. So, okay, so he got one, and the one I was thinking of was...
There's another Malcolm out there?
Yeah, yeah. My buddy, Laser.
This whole time I thought it was one of a kind. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, actually, since he's local, I was able to drive up there and deliver, because he got 4 blades from me, all the different colors of the enhanced blades. And so you know, he's a photographer, so he wanted them for his photo shoots. He wanted all the different colors, so I drove up there, and you know, he had a couple, I think, Vader's Vault and a couple Genesis custom sabers that he bought the hilts for, but he didn't have the blades for, so he, you know, was able to get the blades from me in those enhanced colors. But the one I was thinking of was for the Black Mamba. When I sold the Black Mamba,
I remember that saber.
Yeah, that one had because I told the owner, I said, you know, if you really want something as unique as this saber, maybe the Amber Enhanced might be something cool, because this saber was meant to have a yellow blade originally. The design was it was going to have a yellow string blade, and eventually what ended up happening was Neopixel came out. So eventually it just became like the impossible became possible, where originally we thought, you know, what do you expect to light up every single LED in a row? What are you, crazy? And that's never going to happen. And then a year later that happened, where you could light up, everything's computer controlled and everything's RGB. So it really became possible to have a multicolor blade in that saber, and in any saber.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing was, everything got cheaper at that point too, you know. And the blades for the Crystal Focus LS that I was making, any string blades, they're expensive, because it take me like 2 days to make it. Hundreds of parts, hundreds of individual LEDs have to go together, soldered by hand. And so they were like $450. And then when the Neopixel came out, it became so much easier to create those blades that it got so much cheaper. And even then even the boards got cheaper. Yeah.
And they're better.
And they're better. Yeah. Like they're versatile. More versatile. The improvements can happen out there in the world, meaning like you might, like, let's say you might get a blade this year and for the saber, but then in 3 or 4 years, the Neopixel technology, maybe they make a strip where the LEDs are closer together. Maybe they make a strip where the LEDs are brighter, or, you know, they already have those strips where there's white. It's like RGB and then white. So RGB. So like 4 diodes in there instead of just RGB. And I'm not sure if the Crystal Focus supports that yet, but I know the Profi does. And that's pretty cool. The only downside to those is like those strips aren't made the way I like to use them, which means that those strips are, I have one right behind me here. This is these are RGBW. There's 2 of them here. They're really thick. They're 12 millimeters thick. And now, I don't know if you can see on camera, but there's these little lines that, these can be cut down a little bit on both sides. So I could cut it down, maybe make it 9.5 or 10 millimeters, but that's still wider than the ones that I like to use, which are 7 millimeters. I don't have to cut them.
Gotcha.
So that's like just the one downside of RGBW, is that they don't come in the skinny strips, which is okay, but it's just like all the benefits that I like skinny strips for. There's a reason, you know, it's lighter weight. As far as the blade goes, you know, it feels more like a real lightsaber when you're holding it, rather than something that has like a weight to it on the blade.
Yeah, feel like a metal sword.
yeah. So I like it to feel very.
You don't want a lightsaber to feel like that.
No, I like it to feel like a maneuverable.
Yeah, and you know how to do that. That's cool. You know how to twirl and do all that. So. Lighter the better.
Oh, Bert Rutten is here. Now I can build with you. We just got another order from TCSS. Perfect. It's Monday. You got your shipment, and I'm waiting for my shipment to probably be here later in the week. I got some more photon blades I ordered. Melissa says, sorry for being late. I'm here dealing with some allergies. So I hope you feel better, Melissa. It's not too bad. I was able to come on. Nice. And you got your internet now, so you'll be able to join any streams that you want. Now, if SpaceWIndu can keep doing some build streams for the next week, I can stay motivated to finish mine. I think we will. I think we'll just keep going with these because they are fun, and I think you guys are having a good time seeing what's like the progress here. Bert says, are you on the same wavelength? Lightclaw is a 4-year build rebuild. Yeah, I guess like mine too, you know, like my builds take too long. My builds take too long. I don't like that, but that is what it is. Oh, I see one of my buddies right here. Yaron Ferguson says, it's all you, Big Malcolm. Rich says, what's up, Space? Bert's using dark mode as well, just like Melissa, just like I am on YouTube. And Bert says, happy birthday to Malcolm and his bro.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kind of hard to see the hilt. It's blurry in my field of vision. Colors are dope. Yeah. Yeah, my camera, you know, it might not be you, Melissa. My camera's, even though I just bought this new camera, like I had like a $20 camera. So I was like, you know what? It's blurry. I need a new camera. I bought this $80 camera. I don't think it's that much better. Like it said online on Amazon that it was going to make all my videos clearer and stuff like that. But like for my normal videos, I use like a better camera. But for these videos, I have, you know, like a webcam. I try to buy the $80 one to try to get a slightly better one. I don't know if it's any better. When I'm looking at it, like I'm looking at some of my drawings. I'm trying to record my drawings and my drawing streams. I'm like, this doesn't look clear to me. Like, so maybe that's part of it.
There's me and my bro when we were little kids.
Well, you got a pick?
Yeah. Remember those days when the guy used to come around the neighborhood with a pony? He'd go door to door with that pony and just walk up to the parents and say, you want a picture with, get your kids on the pony and take a picture. I mean, that's the day, that's the era I grew up in.
I wonder how much they charged. Was it like 20 bucks?
Oh, back then, probably not.
Well, they probably wanted a deal. I mean, your parents probably wanted a deal because they were probably like, listen, like we got 2 of them. We're not paying you $10 each. You know, you're going to do them both for $10.
Yeah, yeah. Well, once the guy realized how cute we were, he actually gave my mom $20. As long as, you know, she signed away the rights so that he could put it on the cover of his portfolio. So he gave us $20 to use our picture. So, you know.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, that worked out. That worked out.
I thought you were going to say, you know, he sold the picture to JCPenney or something and you were on the cover of some kind of catalog.
Oh, no, we've done that too. Yeah.
So you put JCPenney out of business. I heard they're going out of business.
No, that wouldn't surprise me.
You know, well, all these businesses are coming out and saying that they're going out of business now, and they're blaming this whole situation. It's like, you were going out of business before. Like JCPenney was going out of business 10 years ago, if I remember. This thing didn't do it. You're like, why are they all playing this game? We're like, oh, it's the disease that did it. No, it's not. Like, you guys are going out of business already. I mean, I guess it sealed the deal. Like, if they can't open the doors, they can't get the workers in there, they can't get the people in there, that seals the deal. But it's like some of these places, it's like, you've been saying you were going out of business for 7 years. So I don't know why it's some kind of big surprise.
Yeah, like Sears.
Yeah, Sears, they've been hanging that sign on the door. It's like the Jason's Furniture that's near my house. They got the sign on the place for 31 years that we're going out of business. Well, when are you going out of business? Like, if you walk in there, nothing's really cheaper than it was. It's a fake. And
Funniest thing. Yeah, Amazon's putting everybody out of business. They own the world.
Yeah, I never liked the idea of like a Walmart or something that was just so big. I always liked the idea of that mom and pop shop. There was always like a sports store a couple towns away that my mom would drive us to when we were kids, and there'd be, you know, sneakers in there and sports items, and that was before Sports Authority and everything else came to my town and kind of put all those places out of business. But you know, there was like video game stores, or like a Blockbuster competitor. They had them in the neighborhood that were like family owned, you know.
Yeah.
They had the toy stores. There's like, I think it was a toy store. They had a couple like comic book stores. They were all just independent. This is all before the GameStop kind of took over video game stuff, but they would have those type of stores would sell the toys. I'm going to use my deburring tool that we talked about yesterday. I'm going to fit this part over and make sure it's not going to scratch anything. I keep all little bits of like old pieces of sandpaper. Just, you know, you never know when you're going to need like a little piece of it. And I've got like kind of more fresh pieces that I keep here too. But for smaller jobs like this, I'll just grab some of this.
So I had another question on the LEDs that go in these blades that you make. What's like, and I think we talked about this recently in an email, what's the brightest you can go without the thing blowing up in your hand? If you don't wield or, you know, do all those things, where it's mostly just for show, where people are just like, holy crap, that's the brightest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then you just turn it off. You know what I mean? That's not going to be running for long periods of time. Just more of like just a super ignition.
For what I understand, I think it's still the same. If somebody knows in the chat, maybe they can correct me. The way it was on CFLS, and I think it's still the same now on these Plector Labs boards. The way it always was on Crystal Focus LS. And I love this idea, and I think it's heroic, this idea. But the first 2 minutes that the Saber's on, it's brighter. And I think it was like Crystal Focus LS. It would give it 3 amps, if I remember correctly. It would like give it 3 amps, and then after 2 minutes, it goes back to 2 amps.
Okay.
And I think some of the Crystal Focuses did that. Like all the Crystal Focuses did that, and I just love that idea. I think they might still do that as far as when you first turn it on, but I think just the electronic situation changed because the batteries we're using to power these lightsabers now, actually, they're 3.7 lithium-ion batteries, which produce what, like 4.2 when we're really talking like the hard numbers, when it's fully charged, like 4.2 and 4.2 volt. But the strips themselves are rated for 5 volt. So there's certain colors in there that are like optimized, like the red is more optimized for like lower voltage. So it's actually safer the way that we do it with these, you know, universal style batteries that are like 18650, 26650, whatever you're using is pretty standard battery at a 3.7 or 4.2. But the strips are rated at 5V. So they could actually handle more. So we're in a situation here, Malcolm, where like, I think if like my friend Jason was in the chat, or one of these tech guys, I mean, I may very well be at a couple people here, maybe the expert on this, but there's dudes that come in that just know a hell of a lot more than me. They might be able to correct me. But from what I'm thinking, these strips are not getting what like they really can't be overdrived at 4 volts. You understand me? So you really aren't seeing the punch power, the potential of that blade. Whereas like on Crystal Focus LS, I was building it I was taking into account the LED specifications as I built the blade, and then programmed into the chip what I wanted the chip to produce. It was kind of like a little bit of a balancing act, where like I would adjust the wiring of the blade to suit the battery pack, and then have the board handle whatever discrepancy that there was there. And so I get the optimal effect for my strip blade, which was more like, or my string blade, which was more of like what I call analog situation. I was controlling every aspect of how that worked. With the digital version, all this new stuff, Neopixel, we're talking about, it's computer controlled, and it's feeding different current, different voltages for different colors. So red is in a certain range, like 2.7, and then we got green at like 3.2 and blue at like 3.4. And so we are playing with the voltages and current to produce certain colors through the computer line, the data line. And we actually never reached that full potential of the blade, partly because of the battery situation. It's like the brightest color would probably be green, blue, and red on all at the same time, right? So you'd have, let's say you have 100 LEDs on one side of your blade. It's a strip, so there's two strips, 100 and 100, and each LED has 3 diodes, right? RGB. So 300 on one side, 300 on another side, all on at the same time. You need a good battery to make that happen, but now we're producing a white blade, right? Probably the brightest that RGB strip can do. Then we'd have our answer once we stuck that in, like the lux meter, you know, what the number actually was.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I kind of don't, you know, to answer your question a little bit further, I kind of don't think we can break these strips with our setups. But like I said, you know, anybody that knows more than me can prove me wrong.
Yeah, I just brighter the better. But I've never seen one that are you know, the ones that you make and some of these other guys. All we get to see is it, you know, on through, you know, the TV and YouTube and everything. So to see this thing light up in person compared to some of my older sabers that I used to get back in the day, you know, like Ultra Sabers and those kinds of things that I get that would just blink on, not even a string blade.
Oh yeah.
This is still just going to be a million times that. So
yeah,
I'm sure either way, no matter how we
real.
get it, it's not going to be disappointing by any means. But.
Yeah, you know, they're always going to be brighter in the video, because the video camera just kind of blows out the effect. But
Yeah.
To me, they're impressive in person as well. And when I show people in person, they're like, whoa. And I even have people that like, this is the reaction. I need both my hands to show you guys. Like, honest to God, and anybody that has a Neopixel lightsaber, tell me if this happens to you. It's like, I have a friend over that's not into lightsabers, that doesn't care, but I maybe want their opinion because they're over. And I'm like, you know, I just built this, like, I turn it on. And they go, oh, like this is, and
yes,
many people
that's
do
what
this.
I
Like,
want.
it's not just one person. Like, I had a roommate about a year ago. He moved back to Florida, but he would do that. Like, I would go into the other room. I'd say, look, I just built this. Can you just tell me what you think compared to the last one? He'd be like, ah, you know. And then I'd have another friend over, and they'd be like lying on the couch or something watching TV, and I go up to them like, listen, I just built this. You know, take a look. It's red or it's green, whatever. And I turn it on, and they go, oh, too bright, you know, and they don't even want to look at it. So that's when I know I did good. You know, I'm like, oh, this is
perfect.
It's realistic to them, you know. They think it looks real, and I think it looks real too.
I am so looking forward to the first time I turn this thing on when I'm out at the ranch, because it's just, I mean, we're literally out in the middle of nowhere, 155 acres. The stars are like you've never seen before, and I can just go.
That's going to be.
I can go out in the field where it's just, you know, as long as it's not a full moon night, because that just lights everything up, but where it's just dark, and you know, just turn that thing on. It's just going to be.
Well, you know what's going to happen
crazy.
to you is you're going to turn it. You know, you're going to have this dark night. You're going to see the stars. You're going to have this. You're going to turn it on, and when you turn it off, you're going to see like these lines. you know, in the dark,
Yeah.
because that's what happens. You just see these weird lines.
Yeah.
So this is
I'll do a. I think
that
I'll do
bottom
a. I'll do a video of it. I'll have Malik record it, and I'll
Yeah.
get it to you the first time we do that. It'll be cool.
Here you can see how that thickness kind of it up there. So now you don't see those threads anymore that you asked about yesterday that were behind the Darth Maul pommel.
Yeah.
The
and that piece there is going to be all. It's going to stay silver. Put on them.
I was thinking. I mean, it could be silver. It could be black. It could be. There's a third choice too. You know, it could be black and then weathered. And then there's different stages of weathering. I didn't know if you wanted some of the. I was thinking that, given some of these parts that we're talking, the two tones on this are going to be silver and black. But if you have other ideas, like you wanted, you know, some people like the way that like Luke Skywalker's Return of the Jedi saber is got some black, but it's like half rubbed off. You know, if you like that way too, that could work.
We could probably do a little weathering just on that one piece. Yeah,
that would kind of be sweet. So we could think about it too as you see it more come together. But actually, I'm really liking how. And now, granted, we've only added one piece right here, but I like how the thickness here and just the way it looks is starting to match, to my eye, to this piece here. As far as, you know, that's just, you know, and then we've got our emitter look, like our cutout for the Kanan Jarrus that Saberforge did. That looks nice.
So what are your thoughts about matching that piece that you just showed me on the back?
This one here?
If we do a little bit of weathering there, not too much, but just a little bit of weathering.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have that Qui-Gon Jinn piece.
That's right here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be right in the middle there. And then, so matching that back weathered piece to the emitter, that long part on the top of the emitter. Oh, it's not on this drawing that you did.
Like this?
Yeah, that part right there where your finger is on the emitter. Where your glove is.
Are you talking about those holes that we discussed yesterday?
No, I'm talking about the the emitter.
Yeah.
That part right there. Not the silver part where the tube goes in, but that top part.
Oh, okay, here.
Yeah, that whole piece, not the piece that's in the middle where the blade slides in.
Okay, so here.
Yeah, so all that whole piece, not necessarily the ring, but just that one.
And
it's hard to show you when I'm not in the room, but we could do a little bit of weathering on that on the outside would match that back piece.
I see. Okay, that could be cool. Yeah, that could be pretty cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, all of that, the whole piece. It starts on the bottom, it twists, and it goes to the top.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you got your finger on it right there.
Yeah, I could do that. That would be good.
Just to break up all that silver on the emitter, because that whole emitter is silver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll play with it.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and if we do that, we might not. If we do that, it might be enough to where we wouldn't have to do any windows in the emitter.
Mm.
Maybe a couple drill holes just to get like a couple. I actually have seen some emitters that just have a couple drill holes in them.
Mm-hmm.
So where when the blade shines through it, all you're seeing is just, through just a couple holes. Mm-hmm. That looks kind of cool too, almost like buttons on the emitter, but
yeah.
Versus a long, rectangular window. If that's easier, either way looks still pretty cool. I always like a little bit of some kind of a window or a drilled hole or something on some kind of on the emitter.
That's kind of a big.
We're able to do it because it looks cool when the blade shines through it.
Yeah, this is a big like swath of metal right here, so there's room to play with there. Yeah. And if there was holes and weathering, I could imagine that the weathering, like the way it would break up around the drilled holes would be kind of neat. Yeah. Yeah, I think drilled holes straight up the middle would be probably ideal all the way to, near the top. You know what I mean? I really like this. What do you call this part? Is this like a flange? like, what is this part called? This is cool.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's yeah, it's kind of a Bane throwback, or
Yes,
you
it
know.
does look like the Bane, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I like the Bane saber, man. That thing's a beast.
yeah, like if
So
you
as soon
took
as I saw that emitter, I'm like, oh
off,
yeah,
it would be the Bane. Yeah. Yeah, like if
yes,
you didn't have that, it would be like, well, I think the Bane would have been longer than this, to be honest. But right there, that does look like the Bane. Yeah, without
right,
this part.
yeah. I've always liked that look. That just almost like the top of a ninja, you know, a ninja sword too. You know, that round. Yeah, I've always liked that look. So I'm getting best of both worlds right there. But yeah, that'd look awesome.
Yeah, that bottom piece fits on really, really nice so far. And I do want to put those Graflex lines in the middle. And I'll have to drill a hole for the belt clip. I think that belt clip will probably hold that piece on well enough. I'll have to see if any more screws are required. Sometimes that could be enough. But I don't like anything to feel like if anything's loose at all, I'm like, nope. Like I did this one saber that you know, sometimes I get a hilt like completely sort of finished, like not with electronics, but you know, a hilt that's designed by somebody else. And there was this one hilt that was all held together, and some of the parts on the hilt were brass, and the whole thing was held, so it made it very heavy, and it was all held together by one little screw. And I didn't know how loose that was going to feel in effect until I was actually, this was a huge mistake on my part, because I played around with the lightsaber a little bit as an empty and thought it was going to be fine. And then once I got everything installed, and of course I had to, you know, drill some holes and clean up those holes and do a bunch of stuff for the install. Once I got through the entire install, I realized that the hilt wasn't that, it didn't feel that sturdy because it was all held together with one screw. And I was like, oh, what a mistake. I'll never rely on that again, like rely on just one screw.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to deinstall like half of it to drill another hole just to shore everything up, because I wasn't going to let it like be that way. I just hate that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, if I ever carry this one around, this thing's going to be a beast.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be a good saber that you could have like a long blade. Like, let's say you did end up getting, I don't know what size blade you were thinking about, but this is one that could probably handle like a longer blade. You know, because it's got a deep emitter there.
Yeah.
Some sabers I usually, if it doesn't have much room in the emitter, I'm like, you know what, don't get something that's like 36 inches, because it's not gonna feel good, you know. But for something like this, enough of the blade is gonna be in there that it's gonna feel good no matter what, I think. I mean, no matter what size it is.
I'm not a fan of super long blades, because a lot of the sabers I've had in the past are kind of, you know, small hilts. But yeah, I mean, with this one, this thing's so long that, yeah, you could put a longer blade in and it wouldn't feel as long.
Yeah.
Or look as long. You know, it's like holding a Yoda hilt with a 36-inch blade.
Yeah, that would be.
It just looks
like
funny.
A Yoda or a Sidious hilt just wouldn't be good with such a long blade.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you did a video recently with a new, you know, the new pixelation system or whatever, and you were recommending it only being a certain length. Do you remember that video you did?
Oh, yeah, because those are the TriStars.
Yeah, TriStar.
That's because, yeah, there's so many LEDs in there that we're talking about a lot of power consumption. So that's like one issue. And then the second issue is the fact that I use actually a wooden, it's a very thin triangle that the LED strips can rest on this, so that I get that triangle shape on the inside. Otherwise, there's really no way to get that triangle shape. And these dowels, I feel they only come in this like 31, 32 inch size so far that I've gotten. And to be honest, even if I found something like 36 inches long, I don't want to do that anyway, because we're talking about weight, a lot of blade. Yeah. And we're talking about a pain in the ass for me. Like I got to sit there and make it 36 inches, and you know, you could run into problems when you have more LEDs is more problems. It's like more money, more problems, you know, more LEDs, more problems. So we want to just have it rest on this dowel only, and not have things flopping off the edge, or not have such a long dowel. You know, unless someone came to me with like a special request and said, listen, I'm in a Darth Vader costume and I'm at the mall and I just need something 36 inches. Okay, you know, like we'll talk about it. But for most people, we don't need anything longer than that. That's enough. And plus, you know, when I started working with Michael Murphy at FX Sabers, and he requests blades from me, and he never asks for anything more than 32. He thinks 32 is the perfect length, and he has his reasons why. Like he's I think had contact with the people that used to do the movies, so he's just he just told me hard up, like it's 32, you know. So it's almost like, you know, and when I try 32, and my own personal blade is a 32 now, even though I used to rock like a 33, 34, all the blades I would make for myself would be like 34, you know, because a couple inches sink into the hilt usually. So I thought, you know, okay, 32 exposed is pretty good. But when he turned me on to the 32, he said, try 32, you know, because whenever I did make like a 30-inch blade for my buddy Dan, Revan Reborn on FX Sabers, and he would come over and I would spin around his saber. He would say he'd ask for the short blade because he's short himself, so he'd ask me for like a 29-inch blade. When I made it and I would spin his saber around, I'm like, you know, that really feels great. Like that really feels awesome. And then when Michael Murphy told me about just make all the blades 32, that's what they really should be. And I'm thinking, well, you know, I still make it longer for people that want it longer. But I'll never understand when someone buys the like the strips and they say, well, the strips are 1 meter, so I made my blade 1 meter. It's like, well, how tall are you? Are you Chewbacca? Like, is it, you know, there's no reason to do that. Like,
yeah. I think most of the blades I've gotten in the past, because, you know, they're pre-sized the way I used to order them, I think most of them are 33, 34.
Yeah, that's like a decent size. You know, I think like 36, even if you're tall, it starts to get a little unwieldy. You start hitting the ceiling when you're in your house and things like that. So it's like, you know, you got to be practical, I think, especially when we're talking about you're going to spend $300 on a blade, or you're going to make yourself a blade and it's going to take you the whole weekend or whatever it's going to take. It's like, well, just make it proper. So, you know, we're not going to be outside all the time, or maybe you do have high ceilings in your house and it doesn't matter. But I think most people, they don't want to ruin stuff.
Yeah, no, I like the shorter blades. I even think this longer hilt will look really good still with a 30, you know, 31 or 32 blade.
I think so too.
I think most of that weight's going to be. So do you do a 32-inch TriStar?
Yeah. Yeah, that can
happen. What's the difference between that newer TriStar versus the ones that you've been making recently? They brighter? Just well, there's 3 strips. You're talking about 3 strips in there now, yeah?
3 instead of 2. So like normal blade I would make would be 2 strips, which is, you know, my opinion is it's enough and it's great and it's beautiful. 2 is wonderful. Perfect, in fact. You know, like as perfect as you can get. When you want 3, you're making it harder for me to diffuse it. So you could imagine with 3 strips in there, there's less room for the diffusion. So automatically, like I always like to advertise, I always like to tell people I use Makoto foam. I like Makoto foam. It's thicker, it's better, it's nicer, it's the best. But when you ask for a TriStar, I can't use Makoto foam. I have to use a different type of foam. Like the Makoto foam has a small, tiny hole in it. Most people can't use it because they're using those thick strips that I showed you. You can't shove them in the Makoto string blade foam. But I can put the skinny strips in the foam. I can put 2 of them in there. But I can't do 3. 3 around the dowel, it won't fit into Makoto foam. So I have to use a custom Saber shop foam, which is better than acceptable. It's really nice. But just the fact that we have 3 strips in there and we're talking less diffusion, you're just open up a little bit more for like seeing the corn cob, you know?
Yes.
That being said, the different blade tubes can provide like a different level of diffusion. So the trans white TriStar that was just recently delivered to my friend in Japan, he actually wrote me an email just saying how much he liked it, how smooth it was, and how it was better than he expected, and all that. It was a really nice email, and I was like, wow, you know, like that, and that one really looked good to me as well in person. But you know, the TriStar is more money. The TriStar is a little bit heavier, you know, but it's nice that we keep it down to that 32. It still feels pretty light, because, you know, there is the skinny strips, that dowels like balsa wood. Everything's pretty light in there still, and the thin blade tube, 1-inch blade stock. That's another thing too. You know, if someone's looking for a 7/8, I can't do a TriStar. That won't work for 7/8. You know.
Yeah.
So it's just what I consider it to be is like a novelty. I don't think everyone should be buying a TriStar, but that's not up to me. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't going to make it in the first place, and the reason why I wasn't going to make it was because when I talked to Irv when Neopixel was first starting, and I said, Irv, you know, I'm going to make these blades out of the loose Neopixel LEDs, which is like what they kind of came out early on. So I did a couple of those. I did like 3 of those. Pain in the ass, awful. Because each LED has 4 legs, so it's awful. And when we started to work with the strips, and it was very quickly that someone came up with the idea to do 3 strips instead of 2. And when I talked to Irv about it, and I talked to multiple people. I know I talked to Irv, but I'm trying to think of who else told me, because I remember about 3 people told me and I think about all of them, that put them on a high pedestal. You know, Irv is like a saber god. I talked to a couple other saber gods. I said, what should I do? 2 strips or 3? And everyone that was in the know, like Irv, he said, just do 2. Nobody needs 3. 2 is great. You know, 2 is incredible. So I'd build them all with 2. I was like, these are incredible. They're fantastic. But a couple times I had people ask for 3, still ask for 3. So one friend asked for 3 couple months ago, 3 strips, and I did it, and it came out kind of better than I thought. So that's one of the reasons why I started offering. I had some people asking. So, you know, whether I think it's like not necessary or, you know, or not, for me, I don't need a TriStar. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like when I put it in the lux meter, it's brighter, but it's like when you talk to like an expert on LEDs, like Jason JB Kuma. I said, you know, what should I do with the about the TriStar? He says, listen, it's going to be brighter because you have 3 strips, and there's they're kind of closer to the edge of the blade, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, it's kind of hard to explain. But like, okay, the lux meter, it has higher numbers, right? But in reality, it's not brighter. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? It's like imagine there was like the sun is out there, right? 93 million miles away, you have the sun. Imagine there was another sun right next to it. Same distance.
Yes.
Everything. Are we bright? Are we getting more sunburn? I don't think so. You know, there's 2 suns. They are right at the same distance, 93 million miles. What's the difference? You know what I mean? Like, if you put a light meter next to it, it's like, yes, well, because there's 2 of them, but the power of the light is the same. That's kind of my point. So, like, you know, it's kind of a tricky situation, because when I have people here, I invite Gabe over. Gabe comes over. I light up the TriStar. He says, "Oh my God, it's crazy." And I'm even to my eye, I'm like, it's crazy bright. But I don't, you know, it's not like it's different. It's a different strip. It's 3 of that strip, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I think it's subjective in that sense. It's like, yes, you turn on, people are like, oh, bright. But is it better? I don't know. Like I have fun with my two strip thing. So I kind of think it's up to the individual. And unfortunately, you know, that's kind of a murky answer, I guess. But that's kind of my answer.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think you guys like me, we just want the brightest thing ever.
and I get it, you know, because
even with two strips, it sounds like that's going to happen. So,
and
especially for me out here in Oregon, it's not like, you know, it's not like we have a lightsaber club, you know, in the city that I'm from. We just, you know, when I start to show people this thing, they've never seen anything like it. You know what I mean? So this is going to be a one of a kind for any of my buddies or the family. So even just with, you know, the ones that you make custom are still going to blow everybody away.
I think so. Yeah. Like the TriStar, I would say is you have to be delicate about what you want, you know, or you have to be choosy about what you want. So you might say, I want, you know, the most well diffused Neopixel blade I can get. I would say that's the standard one. If you said I want the brightest one, that's the TriStar, right? It's like I can like pretty much say like I'll do my best. We'll get it as close to perfect as we can on any blade that I make, but I can really do a great job on the diffusion if we're talking about the standard blade. You know, you kind of paint me into a corner when we're talking about the TriStar because I have to fight a lot of situations. You know, we're doing battle with a lot of diffusion situations.
Yeah.
Tyrannosaurus is here. Thanks for joining us. Mike Hendershett says it's the handguard of a Japanese sword, the Tsuba. That's what that part is called, the Tsuba.
The Tsuba.
Part right here. Yeah. I actually bought a piece that is, I bought a Tsuba piece. Oops. Hopefully I'm not disconnecting myself. This piece right here. Yep. You guys see this? This is an MHS V1 Tsuba part that I'll use. It's pretty cool, right?
Very nice.
It's like a little, ends up being a little wider than the one on that saber there. So I am to the point of adding a little bit of a bevel to the bottom of this. Let's see if we can get this one like sliding on there.
You keep standing it like that, bro. I'm gonna start rapping.
Sometimes, yeah, like I think I said it yesterday too. Like I do find a rhythm in it sometimes, and I don't even realize that it's happening.
Yeah. No, you're throwing down a beat right now, bro.
I think Harris has said that too. When I have to kind of put some elbow grease into something, he goes, "I think I hear a song in that."
Yeah.
So glad all of you could join us today for Malcolm's birthday. It's been so much fun building this lightsaber for you, Malcolm. I want to see it
cool
too. It's always kind of funny when like the customer will email me and says, you know, like, I can't wait for the saber to be done. Like sometimes you'll email me or something, and it's like, it's funny because I can't wait for it to be done too, because I want to play with it too. And when I always tell people, it's like they're like, oh, is you know, is my blade ready or something like that? And I'm like, yeah, it's done, but I'm testing it. You know, I tell them I'm testing it, but really I'm playing, you know, I'm outside playing with it. And the neighbor goes, what are you doing again? That thing's so crazy. What are you doing? I'm like, don't you, I make these inside. Like, how many years is it going to take you? She's surprised every time I'm out there. It's like, don't you know I'm making this inside, you know?
Yeah, that's funny.
She goes,
I like the accent right there you just threw down when you said that.
Say that again?
Hey, what are you doing out there? Huh? What are you doing?
Well, she always says, I think she's telling me on multiple times, she says, how old are you? You know, because she sees me out there with that. She thinks it's like a child, something for a child. So she says, how old are you? I'm like, well, it's okay. It's okay. I'm a child inside.
That's right. Hey, adults got to have their toys too.
Yeah.
Toys with toys.
I went to about 19, I think. And then my brain never went past that. I just stayed at 19.
Yeah. No, like
I might look older than, yeah. You know, mentally, I'm like a 19-year-old orangutan. And on the outside, I kind of look like that too, but
yeah. Yeah, my wife and I have been together 20 years, and I turned 48 today, and she still asks me, you know, on the daily, when are you going to grow up? I'm like, it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen, you know.
Well, there's a lot of these old sayings, you know, that say if you're young at heart, you know, you'll even you'll have a happier life. You'll maybe even live longer. Everyone's jealous of people that are young at heart, but then they'll use it against you too. So I don't know.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
But I'll never be too old to watch Star Wars, really, you know. And
no way, never. Hey, what direction do you think they're going to go in next, buddy? Because we're not done making movies. There's no way.
Yeah, let's see.
I'd like to see them go backwards. I'd like to see it go all the way back to the Old Republic, man. Those could be some bitchin' movies.
You know, it's like, it's really hard to say because I'm not happy like creatively where they've been taking things, except for a few things.
Yeah.
Like Mandalorian is pretty cool, and
yeah, Mandalorian's cool, very cool.
Some of the comics have been pretty good.
I just like those YouTube movies that we've seen, you know, about the New Republic or whatnot. There's so many more Jedi and there's so many more Sith. I think for a lot of us, especially me, where I grew up with all of them. You know, I still remember watching the first one in a drive-in theater. I think we're just over the one character's the hero type of movie. You know what I mean? Where I'd like to see, you know, a group of Jedi that are like a small, not platoon, but like a small unit, like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator, where everybody had their specialty.
That's a great point. I love that.
Like a small camp, like a small, commando unit, but they're Jedis. There's like 5 or 6, maybe even 7 of them. And, a couple of them die. That's okay. I'm all right with that.
Well, that's the thing.
You know what I mean? Just a handful of Sith, just a bunch of crazy Sith kind of guys. Not one good guy, and then there's one bad guy. It's like I think we're finished with that. We need a bitchin', hardcore, R-rated Star Wars movie.
I think we need a bunch of them. Like, you know what I think that they should have done, and they could still do it going forward. What they really need to do is they've been really a fan of, especially with The Force Awakens, right? They wanted to sort of duplicate A New Hope, and they wanted to duplicate the success of the original trilogy with this new trilogy, and they missed the boat on a bunch of points there. They did the wrong type of copying, I think. What I would love to see is, sure, I think you can copy plots and you can copy stories, but put it in the Star Wars universe. Don't copy other Star Wars things, but like you said, maybe do a Platoon. Do a movie like Platoon, but it's Star Wars, right? A group of not clone troopers, but like stormtroopers or clone troopers, anything like that. You could do a gangster movie. You could just flat out basically copy a fantastic gangster story, whether it be a novel or a movie, a book or a movie, and just change it up to be Star Wars. You know, I know that takes a little bit of work, but it's far, far better than doing it from scratch. And I think it's far, far better than stepping on your toes by copying other Star Wars stuff. You could do an almost ghost ship. You know, you could go back to the Star Wars books and get a bunch of ideas, but basically just taking a lot of cultural relevant movies that have been made out there. You could do like a murder mystery thriller set in the Star Wars world. You could do a Scream style teenage haunted scary movie in the Star Wars world. You could do a space style haunted thing like, what's that one called from the 1997 where the ship is haunted out in space, you know, and everyone's getting killed on this this entity. You could do that type of movie, but it's in Star Wars. You know, you could do so many different things. Like you said, you could have the bad guys, a bunch of movies like Joker style movies where the bad guys are running things, or maybe it's on the bad guy planet, maybe it's on Korriban, and they are maybe it's at the Sith Academy. I would love to see like a Harry Potter style series where we're at the Jedi Academy. Do one where we're at the Sith Academy. Do just copy stuff, but put it in Star Wars. Copy stuff that's excellent, like copy stuff like Game of Thrones, where there's so many characters in it that you can't remember all their names until you go back and rewatch it 4 times. Those are the type of tricks you can play on us that will keep us in there. When you just introduce one person and you say, well, this person's going to be our hero. First of all, for 3 movies. Now we're between a rock and a hard place, because if she dies, then we're SOL for the rest of the movie, and we're only relying on these 3 people to carry this movie. That they didn't do the right story background moments for these characters. Like, for instance, Finn. What did we really learn throughout the 3 movies about Finn? We just learned that he yells a lot. He yells Rey's name a lot. He has something to tell her. He almost never gets to tell her. He's just kind of all about Rey, but really what he should have been... Did he ever tell her? I don't think so. Like, what he really should have been was like a mini Luke. Like he could have been like a somewhat depowered Luke. Rey could have been there, but there could have been 10 other people. So that way you would have been like, wait, who is it here? What was her name? Oh, wait, is she the hero? Oh, she's acting evil right now. Oh, what about him? He could come and backstab her. Or, you know, you have a lot of these options. What they didn't give us in here was any options at all. It's like you had the couple original trilogy characters. They were hiding on other planets and hiding for the second movie. And in Luke Skywalker, we did have Han Solo. So old. Yeah, we're still filming these characters. Yeah. You know, what they really could do still is do something that's like a copy, if you want to call it that, or a crib, another idea, but put it in the Star Wars world. Because some of the best stuff, I mean, haven't you turned on a Netflix show or haven't you turned on a movie, when the first thing that comes up in a movie that says based on a true story or based on a novel, it automatically gives like a little bit of higher clout to that project, because you're like, wow, if this is based on a novel, that must have meant that novel sold a lot. Maybe it was on the bestseller list. There must have been a reason why they turned that novel. It must have been good. And that's a great thing to see. You know, if they made a Star Wars movie based on a pre-existing material that we already knew was good, even if you said like, look, this is like Goodfellas. This is good. This is Star Wars Goodfellas with the gangsters and all. I'd be like, great, fantastic. I'll love to see it. They'd be like, listen, but there isn't any Jedi or anything. It's just about the gangsters. Like, perfect. I don't care. I'd love to live in a Star Wars world for 2 hours with the gangsters. That's great, because the story's got to be compelling. When you're just rehashing something that none of us really care about because we don't believe in these people, because you never gave us a reason to. But when you step into one of these novels or one of these books that already has something to it, and you can crib a lot of this material, and you could make the characters really endearing because they aren't just something you just pulled off the bottom of your shoe like a piece of gum. They were something that were previously popular. They might have sold in whatever novel or whatever movie, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Why reinvent the wheel, right? That's what my old boss used to say. Why reinvent the wheel? Why they went to do that with the new one, I don't know. I don't know why. Why, you know, they wanted. There is a formula out there for excellence. It's called, you know, pick something excellent and turn it into a movie. It's not rocket science, you know. Like, why they decided, like, no, we know better than all the old stuff. We're gonna cancel all the old stuff and we're gonna write you something new. How does that sound? We're like, okay, you know, we'll give it a try. And I mean, there was a video that came out today that even George Lucas is unhappy with those movies. He doesn't like his characters, and those people flat out lied to him. They've got the interviews to prove it, where they're like, listen, we're not going to damage these characters at all. And they barely got 5 minutes into Luke Skywalker before he's being shamed and killed. So it's completely out of left field. It seems like those people don't understand what Star Wars is, and don't understand the characters. And if they do, they have some weird agenda to hurt those characters. I don't understand that. That's not something that computes for me. I don't.
Well, this is Disney we're talking about, and they've definitely.
Yeah, like, why would they want to burn? Like, it's like they don't like money in certain cases. Like, Luke Skywalker to me is worth a lot of money, and by killing him in the second movie, even if you were planning on killing him, but you brought him to the third movie, I think he would have been worth to your company, to Disney, probably $1.5 to $2 billion in movie and merchandise sales if he lived to at least the third sequel movie. So weird financial decisions were made. You know, I would have never thought growing up that I always thought the suits were running things and were the most powerful. I thought that the suits behind companies were hurting things. You know, I would always collect comics and I would think to myself, well, I hope the suits don't get involved in Spider-Man and hurt Spider-Man or whatever. I was always worried about the suits. And the suits should have been here for this. I remember thinking before The Last Jedi came out, I remember thinking how excellent it is that I was reading articles that said they're not letting the suits near Rian Johnson. He's allowed to do whatever he wants. And I remember thinking, this is great. Like, we've got this director who says he loves Star Wars, and he's made a couple movies, and they're giving this guy a chance, and they're keeping the suits away from him, which is probably good news. I thought it was great news because I'm like, you know,
at the time,
like,
you would think
the suits know about the story. But if they had let the suits in to inspect and the accountants in to say, listen, what are you doing? And they're like, listen, we're going to kill Luke Skywalker, you know, right after we kind of shame him up a bunch and show him that he's a deadbeat and he wants
and he's a good fisherman. It's like, really?
Yeah, like, you know, kind of destroy him a little bit, then we're going to kill him. At least
he's stabbing fish.
Like, the suits would have said, listen, Luke Skywalker's worth $2 billion minimum. What are you thinking? No, you better go rewrite the story. And
he's a badass. You know, we're not going to hit the only fight scene that we see with Luke Skywalker decades later it's not even a real, it's an illusion. It's like, really?
The swords never cross, right?
Yeah, they didn't cross. I mean, even in the training, I thought was just lazy writing with what's the name. We hardly really see your train.
Right. I didn't really think so. If anything, if we take
it was not written very well.
Like, if we take those characters at face value from what we saw in these 3 movies, we would have thought that Rey trained him. I mean, that's what I saw. You know, she brought him out of his funk, I guess you could say. But why he was in a funk in the first place was never explained to us, really, and was something hidden in the background. And like what I've always said, what I heard about writing a great story, having a great story, is you come into the story at the exciting points. Like, you come into the story at the important points, at the points that are important to the audience, because that's what a story is. What I feel like happened with those new movies is we came into the story like way past when the interesting stuff happened. Like they all talked about the interesting stuff happened previously. Well, why am I watching this then? Like, you're telling me our heroes went away and are living on a distant planet, and we don't know where they are. And you know, we found the map to this guy. Why did he leave the map when he doesn't want to be found? This doesn't line up. Then they have the other character who in the previous movies was started out as a scoundrel and ended up being a tremendously loyal friend and husband, basically. By the end of Return of the Jedi, you kind of get the sense that they're going to get married, you know, him and Leia. Han and Leia are going to get married. And then to step into it 30 years, 40 years later, and then for them to say, like, listen, he went back to doing what he was doing in the very, very first movie. When did you ever go back to doing your very first job? Has anybody
ever done that?
Years later, go back to, like, if your first job, like, I worked at the pizza place, and I was bussing tables, and eventually they made me a waiter, and I was still bussing tables, and I'd be a waiter on Sundays, and I'd still have to get on my hands and knees and scrub the floor. There was no, you know, there's no ego there. But for me to end up back at the pizza place when where I was when I was 15, it just doesn't make sense. Like, no one does that. No one does that. Yeah. So to say that Han Solo went back to the place where he was 40 years ago, and he's saying he likes it, and he's a deadbeat.
Yeah, low-life traitor.
No, this doesn't make sense, you guys. Like, this isn't these characters. This isn't, these people didn't.
And divorced. It's like we never saw them happy together, you know? It's like.
Right. It's like,
to rewrite them not even together was totally stupid.
Yeah, and you know, I can believe anything you tell me, believe me, because I know that truth is stranger than fiction. Like, if Malcolm, if you came up to me and you told me, like, listen, I want to tell you something in confidence, XYZ, this happened yesterday, it could be crazy, right? Wouldn't it be crazier? It's often crazier. Truth is stranger than fiction. You know, when someone tells you a story, it sounds outlandish, but this happened to them, you know? So if you had told me that Han Solo did that, he went back to his first job at the pizza place 40 years later, and he's smuggling and he's working at the pizza place and whatever, and he divorced Leia, and he left his kids and all this stuff, I could believe it.
Left the war, left the cause.
Give us why. Give us why and how and when and where and all that stuff, and we can all buy it. We all can buy it, because truth is stranger than fiction. I could believe that. But it's just not what we had seen, and there was no reason for that. There was no reason for that. Han in the book stories and the novels that I've read, wow, what an action hero. You know, that was Han. Yeah. That was Han. And what they turned Leia into in the books was like Luke 2. Like, Leia was incredible in the books. You should have seen some of the, if you go back and read some of these books, I mean, sometimes, you know, they got bounty hunters and they got groups of people that come after Han and Leia that are like Mandalorians dressed up in all types of Beskar armor with missile launchers and laser rifles, 40 of them, and they have a month to plan, and they take Leia by surprise, and Leia wipes the floor with them. I mean, there's no better than what they did with Leia in the books, and to say that you're going to rewrite it and it's going to be better. I mean, what I saw in these movies was not a strong Leia. I saw someone who was like limping. I saw somebody who did overdose in the Force and died. This is not the character of Leia. Leia is got a potential that Luke even tells her in the movie Return of the Jedi. He says, like, you could be even greater than me. Like, and she had the potential, and that's why this is my belief right here. That's why they sent Luke out first. When they sent Luke out first to, you know, I mean, they didn't really send him out. He kind of ran off to fight Vader on Bespin, right, in the second movie. But remember when Yoda said there's another? And, you know, I know nowadays they're trying to twist it to say that that person was Rey. All these crazy people. But there was no Rey back in the day when I guess it was Empire Strikes Back was made. You know, at the time, as a little kid watching, I was thinking, could it be Han? could it be? I think he means Han. You know, I think he means Han because Han is I thought Han was the dude. When I first saw the movies, I thought Han was the dude. I was like, he looks like the hero to me. And I didn't know it was Luke. I thought Luke was like a goofy kid when I was kind of introduced to the movies. You know, I was taking it all fresh when I saw them. So I was thinking, you know, Han looks like the action guy here.
No, he was totally the cool. I mean, Luke Skywalker was a dork.
That's what I thought. You know, I thought
at the beginning, like, this kid's a dork.
That was very interesting. Like, talk about subverting your expectations. 40 years before that was a catchphrase, I really thought that is what Luke Skywalker did to me, was that I saw him in the movie. I thought, okay, he's there. He's maybe a character that they could kill him or something. But for him to come out to be the man, I thought was the twist. I mean, to me, I thought that was the twist. Like, look, it's actually not. It's not her, and it's not him. It's him. I was like, whoa, you know, and especially certain lines that are dropped, like when Yoda says, you know, there is another. I think that opens it up for the possibility of Luke getting killed.
Yeah.
Because dialogue-wise, that opens that up. And in the sequel trilogy, there was nothing ever really that put Rey in danger. Not even through dialogue. Not even through dialogue. Like, in the original movies, you had that line. I think you had a couple lines that kind of showed you that this is an open-ended story. You didn't know if Luke was maybe you did if you knew that it was only going to be those three movies. But imagine Luke turned to the dark side in 1983 and Return of the Jedi, and they had a trilogy right after that of Leia,
yes, that would have been so bitchin'. Oh yeah,
you know, and that was totally possible because within the world, that wasn't something that was made up outside of there. Within the world, they flat out said in one of the movies, I think Luke said it. He said, you know, you got the potential to be even better than me. And Leia goes, I don't know what you're talking about. You got a power. I just don't understand. He goes, no. Because you're going to learn just like me.
Yeah, that power's within you too.
Yeah, and the sequel trilogy should have started off, honest to God, if Luke is going to be away doing something else, Leia should have been there as almost like a Wonder Woman type, because that's what she ended up being in the novels. She ended up being not only a mother because she was pregnant. They open up the the novels that take place after Return of the Jedi with her being pregnant.
Yeah,
she's kind of running away from bad guys at that point, and she's being chased and stuff like that. So she's a mother and she's a fighter, you know, and she's it's just not understandable to me why they overlooked her in the new, and like, oh well, you know, we need to look for a strong woman to be in our movie. Like, why are you looking over Leia? Like, Leia, don't you get it? Leia, come on, you know, she's everything to this story.
Well, from what I'm understanding about these books that you said you've read on her, you could almost do a John Wick style movie with Leia.
Yes,
that would be sick. If you hired the right actor to play her, that'd be dope.
Well, you know who would be like a good John Wick?
I'd watch it over the Solo movie they did.
I think if they did like a Mara Jade, that was like a John Wick, she would have done it. Because she was
that would have been awesome. Just because she's a cool character to look at, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, you know, like the flowing red hair. She has her assassin's outfits and equipment. She was like an expert at having all the right equipment. I mean, there was one book where she faces off against Jason Solo. At one point, she has to confront him because he's kind of going off the deep end with the dark side stuff. And I mean, she's loaded to the gills with all her equipment. She's got grenades strapped. She's got 6 knives on her hip. She's got like 3 lightsabers. She's got everything. She's going to go face off against this guy who thinks he's going to be the next Sith Lord. She's like, nuh-uh, you know, and she just, I mean, she gives him the fight of his life. Like, she gives him the fight. It's like, she doesn't make it through, but when he comes limping back, he's half dying, you know, because that's how ferocious, like, she could take out a Sith Lord almost, you know. She's amazing, and she actually does something that Like she actually does something that, as far as I know, anyone can maybe correct me if they've read farther than me, but Leia doesn't become a master, I don't think, but Mara Jade does. Like Luke makes Mara Jade a master. I think Leia only makes it to Jedi Knight. But I'm telling you, Leia is so badass. It don't matter. You know, it's almost like Anakin when they say, "Oh, you know, you're not a master. You're just a Jedi Knight." Well, he's badass. You know, he doesn't have to be. He's flying half a ship down and landing and stuff like that. It doesn't matter what they call him. You know.
Yeah. Let's do it, bro. Let's get that script together.
Yeah.
We'll be millionaires.
Mara Jade is like a John Wick. Ooh, that would be something else.
Oh, come on, man. We're talking.
Did you see John Wick 3 with Halle Berry flipping around those guns with her dogs and there? Oh, that was something. Those scenes.
Oh, Halle Berry, she'd make a wicked Jedi, dude. She'd do it.
Like if you blinked in those scenes, you missed something, because there was some scenes with Halle Berry and all that gunplay that was just epic, absolutely fantastic. Now I wasn't.
Imagine that in the Star Wars universe, right? I mean, that's just that's what a lot of real Star Wars fans want to see.
That's what I thought we were going to get.
I'm ready for a rated R version of a Star Wars story.
Malcolm, I thought we were going to get that, because leading up to that 2015 release, I heard so many little things, so many little details about the Star Wars Force Awakens, that they had the Raid and the Raid 2 actors in it, and they just excellent martial artists. The Raid is like weapons play, martial arts type of movies. And they're, you know, just these scenes, again, it's like if you blink in some of these Raid scenes, the way that they're flipping around underneath tables, around, jumping around, throwing knives around, and it would have been something else. I had my imagination running wild. They hired the Raid dudes. They got J.J. Abrams, who just made that Star Trek movie a few years before. I thought that was great, high energy, always moving around in that movie. The opening scene of that Star Trek movie when James Kirk dad dies, or what? Unbelievable scene in that movie. And I really had some high hopes. Like, they got these martial artists. There's going to be some flips. I kind of thought they were all going to be bad guys, and they were going to jump down, and we're going to see how good Luke is versus all these martial artists. It's really going to show us that, like, look, we're dealing with a Jedi Master here. It's over. It's like the Matrix here, you know, kind of some kind of display to show his power. They made those guys step out. They just got eaten by Rathtars in the movie. Unbelievable waste of credentials, you know, unbelievable waste. Those people didn't do any martial arts in the movie. We got the foremost premier martial artists to just not do martial arts. It's unbelievable. It's like hiring a ballet troupe to have them shovel manure. It doesn't make sense. What are you doing? You know, I wish I could slap them. Oh, I wish I could slap them. They deserve such a slap. Oh, awful. It's the worst.
That reminds me of that scene in, Revenge of the Sith, where Darth Sidious takes out those 3 Jedi Masters like they weren't even in the room. Remember that when those guys walked in with my names are going blank right now, but
it's like Plo Koon. Is it? No, it's not Plo Koon.
Yeah, it was him and the other guy. There were like 3 of them.
Yeah, the underwater dude, and
and then just like he walked right through them like they weren't even there. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
I mean, are you saying you didn't like that, or what are you saying?
Oh, I hated that. He killed them like they were Padawan learners.
Oh, I mean, I kind of thought that, like, this is showing the power of the Sith Lord. Now, I agree that
I get that, but I mean, put up a fight. I mean, come on, these guys are well known. At least give me 5 minutes of them fighting, not just I stabbed you, and it literally was like 15 seconds.
I could see that. I also think it was like, some of the argument that you could put against that would be that it is sort of, he was taken, they thought they had him by surprise, but he wasn't surprised. That's the way I took it, to where, you know, they were standing there like, listen, you know, I guess we're here for posterity. We're here for security. I don't know why Mace Windu asked me to come here. Like, we're going to arrest the Chancellor. I don't understand. And all of a sudden, you know, like, I don't think they got it. I don't think they got who they were dealing with there, and only Mace Windu could deflect and live for the 3 seconds that it took. Steve, ST Productions is here. Thanks for coming by. One of these days, I'll have to bore out an emitter to make room for the 4-strip blade we began, Anthony. Yeah, that's for sure. We're gonna build a quad strip, and that's gonna be it's gonna blow out my light meter. They say KOTOR movie is in the works. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that rumor too. I don't know. I haven't heard like anything concrete. Melissa's World says the term grow up always infuriated me. My family and others would tend to say, will you grow up? I'm just like, shut up and let me live. Yeah, I feel the same way. Exactly. Who wants to grow up? I feel bad for people that
Melissa.
Tell me to grow up. Like, I feel bad. Like, I feel like they're jealous. Like, are you jealous that you had to grow up and I don't, you know?
Right.
I only pretend. I pretend I'm growing up when I have to go into the bank or I have to go sit, you know, in church or something. You have to pretend you have to be grown up, but you don't really have to be grown up. Anger is a path to the dark side. We don't need any corruption today. Yeah, well, it might look like I'm getting angry, but I'm passionate. Passion is another path to the dark side too, but yeah, it's just for the love, because, you know, we don't want to see our beloved.
They've been getting it wrong for so long.
Yeah, I'm kind of sick of it.
They're so out of touch.
They're so out of touch. I want to be blown away. I want to be blown away. I don't want to be sitting there like a critic. That sucks. You know, like, who wants to sit there and be like, well, Luke, you know, he wasn't strong because he was drinking that green milk. I don't even want to debate that stuff. I don't want to have that conversation about green milk or any kind of milk. I want to see Luke doing flips. I want to see Luke jumping up and down and so crazy that I'm like, what I just see? Here, let me give you $29 again so I could come into the IMAX and see those flips again, because I kind of didn't catch it the first time. It was like the Matrix. Yeah. That's what they should have done, because, you know, you had people walking out confused out of The Last Jedi, like, huh, what? What did I see? When you should have had people go, oh my God, what did I just see? Here, I'm going to come back in 4 hours with my cousins, because I'm going to buy them tickets because they're home and they need to see this, because it's like I thought it was going to be like the new Matrix. The Star Wars movies always took something technological, busted it forward, you know, like they made this awesome special effects and the music that came out of the first series, and then filming the second series in like HD and in front of a bunch of green screens, kind of utilizing a lot of the new technology. Mm-hmm. I really thought all these leaps were going to take place in, you know, and some of the movies that we've seen in the intervening years, like The Matrix. I thought that we were going to get kind of not another Matrix, but the next thing, like what The Matrix did to our minds, which said, like, look at what's possible.
Oh,
that's what we were going to get in The Force
Awakens. Mind-blowing.
Yeah, so there was a disappointment on a few levels. There was, like, you know, those story disappointments where I'm like, oh, I thought I was coming into something that was going to be like Game of Thrones, that you're going to blow my mind away with so many different characters. I wasn't going to be able to keep up, and I'd be like, oh, I need to go home and buy the books because I want to know about all these people that you introduced me to. But now we just got like 3 people, 3-letter names, a kindergartner could remember. Wasn't anything to really delve into, you know. And technologically, I don't think we really got a whole lot of new stuff. Yeah, sure, it was very clear, very, very well done movie making for sure. All the artists and everybody involved did a great job, but I think who we're talking about are the people in charge. You know, we're not talking about the non-decision makers, artists who are doing the special effects work, or the actors who are doing the acting. Just talking about the people who made the decisions to, like, hey, let's throw away all the novels and let's let JJ write his own story. He's a genius. Well, that doesn't quite make sense, because the whole novel, all the novels were written over 25 years. And to say that that's not worth anything, or that there wasn't any precision in those, is a dubious mistake, and a financial one too.
Yeah, I agree.
You would have had a whole base, like, rather than trying to convince everybody 100% people that know about Star Wars and who are planning on seeing a new Star Wars movie, rather than convince all of those people, 100% of them, that you know better than everybody else, you would have had thousands and thousands of allies if you said, like, listen, we're going to adapt faithfully some of these fantastic stories from the books. And you would have had people, I think, you know, you would have had your haters too. You would have had your haters that say, well, they're never going to get it right. They're never going to do it properly. But if they gave some respect to the materials that came before them, including the movies, they really should have given full respect to the movies. And then we wouldn't have had these issues, because if they fully understood and respected like Luke Skywalker and Leia and Chewbacca and stuff, they wouldn't just have Chewbacca there as a joke, eating porgs. They would have him in an important part of the story. He always was important.
He was, and a badass too.
Yeah, and then, you know, don't even get me started about the droids. What they did to R2, they should be in superior court defending themselves over what they did to R2. And then what they did with C-3PO was another crime. I feel like...
I think them going backwards right after the first three was a mistake. I think they let way too much time go by before they started to pick it up again. Honestly, the Star Wars fan, I didn't really want to see a 70-year-old Han Solo. Just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As much as I love Harrison Ford and I love Han Solo as a character, but when I saw him on the screen again, I would have rather seen him, 20 years ago before doing those, going way back and doing that Jar Jar Binks movies. And
I'm
those,
100% in agreement. It's
those guys were still young enough to do some good stuff. Even Leia,
Well, I think it's an unpopular idea for sure, like that, because everyone wanted to see, well, as far as I could tell by looking at the internet and stuff, everybody did want to see Harrison Ford come back and Carrie Fisher come back and stuff. But for me, even when I first heard about these movies being made in 2012 and 13, and I thought that they should cast new people, even if they were going to have the same characters. Now, I know Mark Hamill ended up looking really well and looking just like Luke, but originally I thought that Han Solo could be played by, like, what they do sometimes is, like, okay, in the movie they might say that Han Solo is or he might be playing a Han Solo of 60 or 65, but we really don't have to have the Harrison Ford as a 75-year-old playing that role, I don't think.
Yeah.
And especially because he didn't even really want to. Why force these people when I think for my Han Solo, I would have done Dennis Quaid. I would have got Dennis Quaid to be Han Solo. I think it was a better age at the time, 2015. He looks like Han Solo to me. I also thought that Ricky Schroeder, it's a funny choice, but if you guys pull up a picture of Ricky Schroeder, if I was I would pull it up. Ricky Schroeder should have been Luke. I thought there's some pictures online of Ricky Schroeder in like a black shirt and black pants. I think he looks like Luke. Like a Luke of like a 48-year-old Luke, a 50-year-old Luke. And I think for Leia, they almost could have done, to me, the way that they drew Leia on the cover of these novels as she moved forward in her later years, 30s and 40s and even 50s in the novels, they always drew Leia as the same body type as the 19-year-old Leia. Yeah, that's kind of how I saw her too. I mean, I don't know if that's a weird idea or whatever, but I didn't see Leia. I didn't see Carrie Fisher as Leia. And I'm a fan of Carrie Fisher. I would watch, like, in the 90s, I would watch her comedy specials. I was always a fan of Carrie Fisher. I was always laughing at her comedy. She was smart and funny. But I just didn't see her as Leia, like, when Carrie Fisher was 40s, 50s, 60s. I didn't see her as Leia anymore. I had a different idea of Leia in my mind, and I think the character transcends.
It was hard to see Princess Leia that old.
Yeah,
that's kind of the way that I look at it. It was really hard to look at her that old. You know what I mean?
For me
she
too.
was such a great character. She was, you know.
That's probably
that was a tough one. She was just too old on screen to be. Yeah, I couldn't really wrap my mind around that. That's Princess Leia on my mind on screen. She was that old. It was. Yeah, I'm with you, brother.
I think they could have done a whole lot with a new cast for them, and they intermingle those characters more with the new characters that they wanted to push. Especially in the first movie, there was really no reason to hide Luke on another planet. That was quite ridiculous, and I think as the years go by,
he was hiding, like he was scared and old and hiding.
Awful, terrible. You know, not Luke, and Luke wouldn't do that. I mean, if you watched the original series, you know in your heart that Luke would not attempt a murder on his nephew, who wasn't as far along as Darth Vader was, and he believed Darth Vader could change. His nephew, he had a little bit of a dark side smell to him, and he's pulling out his lightsaber in the middle of the night, ready to kill him. This didn't happen, you guys. This is not our Star Wars. That's not Luke. Very, very odd that we even have to have this conversation. Very, very odd that they would make a movie without watching the other movies. It's a.
Well, I remember when these movies first came out, there was plenty of debate about it. So
yeah,
thousands and thousands of people are having the same conversation you and I are having.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like some of the conversations I was watching. I was fine with hearing all the sides of it. When the Last Jedi came out, I was fine with hearing many viewpoints. But what I couldn't understand was there were some shows I was watching where the whole panel, like made up of 6 or 7 commentators, they'd be like, all loved it. And this is a divisive movie. Y'all can't have loved it. You know, all of you couldn't have loved it. Isn't there a discussion here? And I'd watch, you know, I'd watch Movie Talk and Collider, and I'd watch them for years. And I couldn't believe it when Last Jedi came out and they all started to, it was angling that way in the months leading up to it. But like I said, I was really hopeful for the movie. I was just really hopeful, even after seeing the trailers. And I was like, well, maybe we didn't, and I think I made a video after one of the trailers, said maybe we didn't, you know, hear the end of the sentence. Like when Luke says, you know, the Jedi must end. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that was the trailer. We just didn't hear the end of the sentence. You know, there's got to be something more to it than just that. There's something else deeper there, because in the Star Wars world, there's always something deeper. That's how it used to be. That's how it used to be. You could look deeper. You could always go deeper. And with these newer ones, unfortunately, there is no evidence to me, to my rewatch. I rewatched The Force Awakens probably 35 times. I don't think there's anything deeper there, you guys. I don't think there's anything that you could look at it and say, yeah, there's some deep stuff here. You know, there is. You could watch the original Star Wars 150 times and still get some, you know, some subtle things that you maybe didn't catch before, or you can catch a little lesson that's just not forced on you, but that's just kind of a moral lesson that might be there. Yeah, this piece is almost there. I know I said that yesterday about the same piece, but we really are almost there. Really are almost that piece. Let's slide this one on there. Thanks for hanging out so long with us on your birthday, Malcolm. That's a real...
Yeah, no problem, bro. I'm going to have to bounce in a couple minutes. I see people starting to show up. I still have to...
You know, your company's probably going to start arriving soon.
Yeah, I think my brother cleaned everything up for me. That's cool. So yeah, I'll probably have to watch the rest of this tomorrow. But hey, man, I just want to say, really, thank you so much for having me on, man. It's been a blast. It's been a pleasure to get to know you in this way, other than just writing emails back and forth. So yeah, you're a real down to earth guy, man. I appreciate it, man. I can definitely call you.
I really enjoyed talking with you too, and seeing your bro and spending this time with you on your birthday. That's been a lot of fun.
Man, so cool. Yeah,
I definitely want to do
it,
more of these too. I had, you're welcome to come on anytime, but especially when I'm working on your saber, I will send you the link.
We'll do it.
And if you want to come on, and like, are you home right now because of like this whole quarantine situation, or are you normally like home anyway, or
No, I'm not home because of the quarantine. Like I said, I go back and forth from Grants Pass, which is about 40 minutes from here, where our ranch is, and then right now I'm back in Medford. So yeah, I'm kind of semi-retired. So I mean, as far as availability, I don't have a Monday through Friday 40 an hour, working for the man type of job. I'm in the ministry full time, so it's kind of real flexible for me. So yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, availability or whatnot, I just know that if I ever were to jump online and do anything with you guys, it can't be at the ranch because the reception out there sucks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so as long as it's scheduled or whatnot, then yeah, I'd love to jump back on here anytime with you guys, man, for sure. Especially continuing to finish this build. That'd be definitely want to be a part of it.
Awesome. That'd be great.
All right, brother. Cool. Well, I'm going to go love on my family and enjoy the rest of my day today. And thank you so much for having me, man, for my birthday. That was super cool. Appreciate you.
Definitely. Thank you for being here. Thanks so much.
Okay, bud. All right. Hey, don't scratch that piece right there, huh?
Yeah.
Careful. Be careful, bro. Don't scratch it. All right, bro. See you later.
See ya. Really appreciate all you guys hanging out while I'm making Malcolm's. I guess we call this a collar piece. Making Malcolm's emitter collar piece out of this huge piece of aluminum. Let's see how it's getting a little bit better. Still got a couple imperfections. I'm just trying to work through like 2 imperfections. Then we're going to slide this piece on the saber just for a test fit. I know I have some more work to do making it just look a little prettier, but we'll do the best we can just to clean it up, make it look as finished as I can do before we test fit it, just so we get the real sense of how that's going to lie on there. Melissa's world, poor Master Luke Skywalker. He's one with the Force. I'll try to remember his Padawan knighthood days. Eric Dayton says, welcome to Chewbacca's Pulled Pork Bistro. I'll eat there. Those porgs look good. Those porgs look like really good chicken. Really good roasted chicken. When it comes to Jedi advice, I go by do or do not. There is no try. When it comes to my disability, Melissa's world says, yeah, definitely. My boss says that to me sometimes. And I say, oh, I'll try. And she says, she quotes Yoda. She says, do or do not. There is no try. So, I guess, she got me. She got me. I can't just try. I actually got to do it. As I can't read the novels due to my disability, I would love to have them in large print or Braille. Yeah, that it would. They might have them. I'll have to investigate that for you. Yeah, Bert says, enjoy your birthday, Malcolm. Enjoy. Forced to stay indoors because of the quarantine. I'm so angry right now. Melissa's world says, I know I shouldn't let that cloud my judgment, but I see the reason why. Yaron Frankenson says, happy birthday, Big Malcolm. definitely. Happy birthday. Yeah, Melissa, you know, I will look into, I'm going to make a note of that, to look into Braille versions or large print versions of the Star Wars books. You definitely need some of those, especially Heir to the Empire and Dark Force Rising, which are some of the Thrawn, or the Timothy Zahn trilogy with the Thrawn novels. Those kicked it all off back in like 93. 1991, I think. We had to wait maybe 10, 11 years, 6, 7, 10 years for those books to come out after Return of the Jedi to get more of the story. But they were worth it. Those were good books. I got them on audiobook for me and Harris to listen to when he comes back over. I haven't heard the audiobooks. I used to read them, but probably so long ago I forgot. I forgot like everything that happened in those books. Almost everything. It'd be fun to listen to them. I know, you know, them Star Wars books, they'll put the special effects, they'll put like blaster, they'll put sometimes music. When someone, you know, shoots a gun, they got the blaster sounds, they got the music kicks up when there's a fight scene, they got lightsaber sounds and stuff when there's light. So there's something to be said for the audiobooks that make it pretty exciting. But I've always preferred reading, probably because I think it's a pacing thing. I can go at my own pace. Sometimes I have to scroll back. I have to, you know, page back or read a paragraph 2 or 3 times to be like, you know, wait, what happened in this paragraph? When it's an audiobook, everything's going at that pace, and unless you've got, you know, unless you've got your finger on the back button or on the 30-second button, if you're across the room, you know, you can't quickly go back. But you know, at least listening does allow you to. You could work while you read. I guess that's the benefit. You could do something else while you read, but I always kind of preferred like reading because it's like I could do it at my own pace. I can go back. And I could hear it in my head. A lot of times I will play music, like Star Wars music, while I'm reading the books or reading the comics. I like it when it really lines up, when the story beats line up with the beat of the song or with the music. If it's a fight scene or if it's like a tender scene, the music might line up. Maybe it's a space scene, you get a good space battle music from one of the movies. And I would definitely start with, if I was reading the expanded universe legends, I would start with Heir to the Empire. That, you know, introduce Mara Jade, one of the best characters. Introduce Thrawn. You got Luke. You got Return of the Jedi style Luke. You got Leia. I would say Leia's the main character. They mention Alderaan. They talk a little bit about Alderaan. Alderaan plays a part in the story a little bit. That's one thing I didn't like, you know, about The Force Awakens. You guys, like, do you remember when Alderaan was exploded in the original Star Wars? It really hit you hard, and it hit the characters hard. You saw Obi-Wan stumble. He felt something. Princess Leia was very upset. In the new movie, when the 5 or 6 planets were destroyed by the one red laser that split into different parts, and it destroyed the Republic capital world, it destroyed some shipyards and 5 planets. And nobody really skipped a beat. Nobody really cared in the movie. Nobody really, like, why should the audience care when not that many? I think Finn was the only one that cared for a second. You know, he cared for it. Nobody mentioned it again. Nobody mentioned it again. Like, hey, what about those 5 worlds? Like, oh my God, my friends were on those worlds, you know? Oh man, my family, you know, nothing. Nobody said nothing. And that's why it was nice, you know, whenever they mentioned Alderaan in the expanded universe and the legend stories, it was nice because they might talk about like Alderaanian art or Alderaanian wine, explain a little bit about Alderaan or something. It's really nice to not forget. It's like, you know, September 11th, never forget. That's the slogan for September 11th. Well, you have Alderaan, and it's nice that they never forgot in the expanded stories. But in all the new stuff, I don't think I ever heard the word Alderaan, you know, in any of the new stuff. Like, nobody talks about Alderaan, and nobody talked about, I can't remember, I think one of the planets that was destroyed in The Force Awakens started with an H. Was it like Halcyon, or was it? But they didn't make a big deal out of it, but billions of people, I think probably a trillion people might have died. It just depends on how many people were on those planets. But it was a weird missed opportunity to not bring that drama into the story, because it otherwise meant zero. It didn't mean much. Like, what about if at the end, maybe they mentioned it in Rise of Skywalker. I mean, you guys tell me. I didn't see like the first hour of Rise of Skywalker. When Kylo Ren was starting to turn good or whatever, did anyone say to him like, hey, you know, you destroyed my planet. You can't turn good. We don't forgive you. You've destroyed 5 planets. The only ones who remember are us. That's it. The characters in the movie don't even remember the planets. You know, we could have felt it in our heart a little bit if one of the characters said, you know, that was my home world. Oh no, that was my home world. I'm gonna get these sons of bees who got my home world. Nobody said nothing. Nobody said nothing after that. They barely blinked. Luke didn't shake. They didn't show an image of Luke like shaking in his boots anywhere. Like, if he's anything like Obi-Wan, he could have sensed it, right? If some of his friends died over there, he would have sensed it. Oh, yeah, it's just about there. Now just some finishing. Let me see if anyone said anything to me in the meantime. Oh, you know, it would be awesome, a Kanan Jarrus novel and live action film. Melissa's World says, yeah, maybe, as long as, my opinion is, as long as Freddie Prinze Jr. doesn't play Kanan, that would be fine with me. I pretty much hate Freddie Prinze Jr. from what he said about Star Wars fans. Also I don't mind Rey Skywalker, but give me her Luke-esque backstory, but have her the daughter of Mara Jade and Luke. Oh, that'd be sick. Melissa's World said that maybe, you know, Rey could be the daughter of Mara Jade and Luke. That would have been something. That would have been something cool. In the novels, Mara Jade and Luke did have children, so, and their child is very important. Yaron Ferguson says, nobody cares when the planets were destroyed because they were looking in all the wrong places. Yeah, I know. They were like confused with their own drama when those planets were destroyed. The very first Legends books that I read were the Jedi Academy trilogy, and that was back in time before they were Legends. Eric Dayton said, yeah, when I when I was reading all that Legends stuff too, that Legends term wasn't really a term for that, because it was like literally the legit canon, I guess you could say. I mean, even though back when those books were out in the 90s and the 2000s, us as fans, we kind of knew that they weren't like approved. I mean, they were approved by George Lucas, but they weren't like the legit movie stories as George Lucas would have continued them exactly. But they were like somewhat approved by Lucas in a sense. He did just have some things like that he didn't want to happen. Like he didn't want Luke to die, he didn't want Han to die, he didn't want Leia to die in the years post Return of the Jedi, so he made sure that they didn't. But he let certain characters die. Like at one point, Chewbacca dies in one of the novels that kind of made the newspaper back in the 90s when that happened. It was like, Chewbacca died, and they explained why and in what novel. I won't give it away here, so that in case you're reading around, you won't know when that's going to happen. But Lando was a big part of those novels. Whenever they had, everybody stayed friends. So at the end of Return of the Jedi, they continued to work together and be part of the New Republic together. Lando and Han and Leia, and they often asked Lando for help, just like they did in the movies. Like there was one point where Lando is a businessman, so he comes upon a deal for these like military droids, and he purchases some of the military droids for not only his own protection of his businesses, but for like to work with the New Republic as enforcers and stuff. So he really was always doing stuff for the New Republic. And that was another weird thing, in these new movies, to not have Lando there until the end really didn't make sense either, because in the original novels and stuff, Lando remains their friend. It's quite obvious, isn't it? I mean, Lando risks his life. He's even wearing Han's clothes at the end of Empire Strikes Back for whatever reason as he's flying away in the Falcon with Chewie. He stakes out puts himself in great danger at Jabba's palace for months while he's integrating himself as undercover. He doesn't stop after Return of the Jedi, you guys. Lando is there. Lando's their friend, and Lando's always their friend. They don't have to go look for him because it's episode 9 and they went back to square one. No, Lando was there. Stop kidding yourself. They don't have to go looking for Lando. They don't have to go looking for Luke. There's no map to Luke. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so hopefully if you guys are building a custom saber along with me, yours is a lot easier than this. I hope for your sake you're not doing this boring sanding, even though I think it's fun. I think it's fun, but I don't think a lot of people would think this is fun. Just like yesterday, I'm wearing clothes I don't really care about in case I get to the stage where I'm going to be using oil or, you know, getting some kind of threading oil on any parts that could get on me. So I'm just making sure I don't wear something out here that I care about. And also tend to get, you know, kind of hot out here. So out in the garage, depending on how hot it is, how much I'm moving around. A lot of this sanding, sometimes I could start, you know, sweating or something. So just make sure I take a shower when I'm done out here, get all this metal away from me. You know, I don't like to go making food or whatever when have a lot of metal shards on myself, because you never know if that's going to get into the food or anything like that. So really rather not swallow aluminum shards if I don't have to. So I usually plan my day around, you know, what I'm going to do first. Like if I just took a shower, I probably won't start doing stuff like this, right? Because then I'd need like another shower. So usually plan my day around like things I'm doing, and I won't be making food or making a meal when I have a lot of this aluminum dust all over. I always like to think of these materials like in the Star Wars world as well. So rather than aluminum, I mean, maybe we can call this, it's not transparent steel, but it'd be like plastisteel. No, it'd be, I don't know, some kind of exotic metal in the Star Wars world. Since this piece is round, I'm actually trying to, the way I sand it, trying to keep it round, but take the imperfections off. So to make it very, trying to make it very evenly, trying to sand it very evenly as I kind of turn it. I don't want to get a flat side to this part that's supposed to be round, you know? That's also why when I'm working on the part of the round part that I want to keep round, I'm on a spongy block, so that when I push down, it's not going to ever create a flat zone on this part, because I have some leeway when we're talking about the sanding block underneath. It's got some give. It's got some give to it. You know, this type of thing is also helping for if there was any sharp parts on my part or any sharp corners, sanding it like this would take care of that. It's one thing I know, you know, sometimes you'll get a brand new saber from like Saber Forge or something, and it's actually sharp. Like the saber itself, the hilt itself is cut your hand a little bit when you swing it, because they're probably just putting out the machined part without really making it safe to the touch. You know, flat parts, like I'm doing the bottom or the top is supposed to be flat, then I move away from the sponge and I go for the hard surface. So you see I'm doing the bottom part. This is a hard block right here, a little bit finer grain. So that's because I want that bottom to be flat. I I have to use a flat surface. The spongy surface, if I did it here, I would start to lose this flat edge. But the spongy one's great for the round sides. Let's see. Bert says, I've really been getting into Ahsoka. A lot of potential storytelling gaps to fill in Anakin's turn to the dark side. Yeah, there's an Ahsoka book. I don't know if you've read that one yet, Bert. I heard it was pretty good. It's fun watching you do that instead of me doing all of it, Bert says. That's funny. Yeah, I wish Anakin asked for help rather than dwelling on things. Yeah, like he had that opportunity, right, when he was talking to Yoda. And Yoda said, like, you know, I mean, I think Yoda was kind of short with him in a sense, sort of. When he says, you know, you have to let go of everything you fear to lose. And Anakin says, you know, he can't do that. I think Yoda could have been more understanding. Yeah, for sure. Yoda should have been more understanding, especially with all the history of like, hey, this guy's supposed to be the chosen one, and we really got to keep our eye on him. And if he's coming to them for help, which he was in that scene, and he even apologizes to Obi-Wan in the scene right after. He says, you know, I have no excuse. He was talking to Yoda. He could have just said that. Like, could have said, I was talking to the Grand Master, so back off, you know. But no, he said, like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have an excuse. Like, coincidences, right? Those coincidences led up to the bad things that occurred. But Yoda should have taken Anakin coming to him in episode 3 for assistance or for advice as a real red flag, more so than what he discussed with Mace Windu right after. It really should have been like he should have basically never let Anakin out of his sight after that moment. That's my belief. If they you know, leaving him alone, leaving when Mace Windu left Anakin alone, said, you know, go hang out in the Jedi chambers and the temple chambers, and when I'm ready or when I come back to get you, you know, just I will trust you at that point. Another mistake, right? A lot of coincidences that kind of just went wrong that day or that decade. A lot of things just went wrong, leading to that. Yeah, Melissa's World says Saberforge really does that. Yeah, they do. I bought sabers from them and I cut my hands on them as I'm spinning them around, and other people tell me the same stuff. Detroit Custom Sabers. Are you trying to level the part or face it? Is it to be the heck of a lot easier if you had on a disc sander or lathe a distant? I'm not sure I'm reading that right. Is a lot cheaper. Yeah, I don't have a lathe. Detroit Custom Sabers, I don't have a lathe. You know, I bought a lathe one time and it was broken. Like, I actually set it up right here. It was like this big. And my dad bought it for me. We carried it in super heavy. It was like 250 pounds. We got it up on here. And my dad was sick at the time. Like he wasn't supposed to be lifting anything more than 20 pounds. He helped me lift this thing up on here and plugged it in. It didn't work. So I actually had to return that. And I was so, you know, like it took so much effort to, and I think it happened twice. Like I bought the same brand 2 times and they both didn't work when I got it here and put it here. And I think it broke for like the first, like there was one that worked and then it didn't. And then there was one that just flat out didn't work. So no, I don't have a lathe. I never went back and try to get another one, but I do want to get something that's like maybe like a higher end. I think I was buying something, maybe I was buying like the lowest of the low, like Harbor Freight one. Maybe that's not a good idea for the lathe. I also think like you could get like an old lathe that might be awesome, like at a garage sale or something. I know some people use like a super old lathe, and it's even better than like getting a new lathe because the way the thing is made is tougher if it was made, you know, 50 years ago or something like that. But yeah, if I had a belt sander, I could do the bottom and the top with that for sure. I did some of this part yesterday with my grinder right here, but there's just some parts that I can't like angle this piece like on the grinder for everything. So I'm kind of finishing it off by hand a bit. And yeah, this may not be, you know, the fastest means to an end. My best friend Chris would tell me, he would always see me doing stuff. He would say, you know, you should work smarter, not harder. It's kind of my MO, though. I punish myself with like monotonous tasks, I guess. But like I was saying yesterday, I kind of use this time to think about the part, where it's going, since like everything's custom with this particular lightsaber, you know, and with any custom lightsaber, it takes a little bit of planning, takes a bunch of planning when you're working with the part. And I also like to kind of put the part up and size it out by eye, see where it's going to go in these stages of the part being kind of almost ready to be fitted. I do like to, you know, hand treat it a bit. It's kind of the part that no one, you know, this is kind of the part that no one ever sees. Like, I don't think I've ever done a video quite like this before yesterday that just shows this the boring, the monotonous stuff about building a saber. But for some people, this is the way to do it, you know. For some people, they might have that better equipment, a lathe to maybe shape a piece faster than me. But I do like to use this time to think about the person I'm making a saber for. Think about the design of the saber. Sometimes ideas come to me, like at this stage, where I might be like, oh, you know, I'll do this to this part, or maybe, you know, something else. Or I might think about another part of the saber, like, oh, I want to line that up with this part. And obviously this piece is so thick. This is taking extra. If I had these pieces out, if I was working on these pieces, look how thin that stuff is. Like, you could almost, especially after working on this for so long, this would feel like butter. If I was to put my file to this, you can really make short work of this. Like, I can clean up cutouts in MHO shroud material like this pretty fast. I got pretty good at it. But as far as working with like thick hunks like this shroud piece, I've only done this a few times. Like I have a big old pipe of this, but I think I made 6 claws with this for my EXAR KUN, but never finished it. And I made a part for Stephen Powell's lightsaber a couple years back, similar to this. Came out really, really great on his saber too. It came out really good. I bumped it up against a like a piece of copper, and the neck of Stephen Powell's lightsaber came out great. With this, I really think that this hunk that's going to go like here on the neck is really going to make this thing look beefy. So right now it looks long, but at the end when I'm done, I think it's going to look beefy as well. It's going to look thick, which is going to make the saber appear a little less long than it appears right now, because when it's that diameter and that length, it looks a certain way to the eye. When it's going to be a thicker diameter, like it is down here, I've already got one of the pieces in place, one of the shroud pieces down here, starting to come together a little bit in this section, starting to look less less thin here and more like a grip. Yaron says, Melissa, it does. I cut my hand on the saber before it fell. Yeah. Yoda could have said, deep breaths, take you must. Better things will be in time. Yeah. If he said a version of things get better, you know, better things will get. You know, if Yoda had any kind of insight to tell him, like the stuff that we know as the audience, if Yoda could have told Anakin, like, listen, like the stuff that we now know as the audience, like, listen, you know, these bad dreams you're having, did you ever think about that it might be you that's causing them? Like it might be the dark side pulling you, or it might be dark side visions, or maybe these only come true if the dark side takes control here. All that stuff wasn't said, but that's the stuff you know in hindsight because you know you've seen the story. But that would have been very insightful if Yoda could have read into him in that manner to say, wait a second, you're having some bad visions. You know, maybe like just like Yoda said in the previous movie, the dark side clouds everything. So he probably wasn't able to put those 2 and 2 together. But now that all of us know, like we would never make that mistake, right? If we were in the Star Wars universe and a Padawan or somebody came to us and said, listen, you know, I'm having these dreams and something's happening to my mom or something's happening to my girlfriend or something's happening to my boyfriend. And we would be like, wait, hold on a second. What happens? Like, oh, in the dream, they die. It's really terrible. Wait a second. Okay, so this is starting to sound like maybe this only happens if certain threads take hold, right? Because this is in the future, right? So that's happening in the future. Maybe we could alter the current of the future and change course. But maybe they didn't realize Anakin's power, that he really could see a vision of a possible future where Padme dies, right? Or he could really sense that his mother was in pain. Maybe the other like Jedi, like Obi-Wan, maybe were like when they, you know, because Obi-Wan says that at one point, you know, the dreams will pass in time. I don't know if he's thinking like that this kid is not like, as you know, maybe he's just underestimating Anakin. Like oh, he's having some dreams about his mom or dreams about, you know, danger. It's just something not to be worried about. Where I don't know, you know, somebody with the force powers, 20,000 metachlorians or whatever they over 20,000. Maybe you better heed the warning. Heed the warning. Just reaching for some of my smaller hand files, just round out this corner here. When I set up my light properly, like I was telling you yesterday, you can see the gleam that comes off the metal, and if something is not correct and not perfect, it'll be apparent. The light will not sing to you as much. It's not perfect. If it's perfect, the light beams back evenly across the level surface. And like I said yesterday, sometimes I need to take like a bird's eye view or a worm's eye view, look and see where the imperfection is. I can see can see where it's like, I don't know, it's probably a 1/2 millimeter off on one side. So it's really revealed with the light. Kind of hard to duplicate for you guys to show you, but I think you know what I mean. Like when the light bounces off of certain areas here. So I don't know if you could tell that like one part is flat and then the lower level's not perfect. This part's pretty good. You'll be able to see that. And I don't know if you see as I rotate this, there's still some imperfections there in the metal. That's the you know, the pipe didn't come perfectly. That's why I run along the side here just to on this soft foam so that I don't flatten out any particular side of this round piece. I'm just about ready to put it on, but I was thinking maybe there's like one more bevel to get going. I don't know if I'll do that other bevel or just try it, and I'll try it first. Also, once it slides on the hilt, I'll be able to see that one little part that's uneven. I could probably mark it up with my marker. That's what I do sometimes. And once that marker, if I mark up like with Sharpie marker, what to remove with a little hairline on the marker. And once that marker is removed with the file that I have here, then I kind of know I'm closer. But I can see by my eye that one part's not even, so. It's getting there. I'll tell you though, aluminum is a lot better to work with than steel. Steel's ridiculously hard. Steel is like another animal altogether. I had a steel JQ Saber once, a Qui-Gon Pro Qui, very heavy. It's all steel with bends in the steel to make the Qui-Gon grips. I think was it that or no? It was brass. I think it was brass. Maybe that's why. It was a steel or brass. It was chrome coated, which I think sticks better to brass. It may have been brass underneath there, or it had a no. You know what? I think I'm remembering. It was steel with a brass emitter and a brass pommel. I mean, this thing was very heavy. That's one thing I didn't like about that. The Pro Qui or the Pro Qui by JQ Sabers is a Qui-Gon saber that is chromed out. And it's so sweet looking. Oh man, it's sweet. And one thing I didn't like about it, it's just like when you hang it on your belt, it felt so heavy. I felt like if I were to take a couple steps or to run with that hilt on my belt, it would be bouncing up and down. It would fall down, and if it fell, it would have ruined some of the chrome finish. So I was like, you know, I guess you need a like maybe you need a pouch, like a holster for a Pro Qui or any of those heavy sabers. That was heavy. Yeah, I don't know if I'll get to this portion tonight of what I wanted to show you, but I could tell you at least that sometimes what I'll do is I take some sandpaper and one of my hand files, preferably one of these flat ones, that when I'm getting close to finishing a part, I'm not quite there yet with this one, but I'll just show you. You can wrap your sandpaper around, this is like a high grit sandpaper. Wrap my sandpaper around my hand file and get this flat surface so that, you know, some of these parts, when you're all ready for the sandpaper gives it a really nice, professional, smooth finish, and you could control how much shine you get with, you know, your type of sandpaper. It's right. I think I got like a 3000 piece right here. If this part was like fully finished, it would really be leaving a nice smooth surface. Actually still have to put a bevel on this part, so get going on that bevel. That way you guys you'll be able to see more of what it will look like at the end. If I could just, you know, some people for some of this part might get out their Dremel. I don't like losing control when I have a part that I'm working with, and if I was to, let's say, grab the Dremel and I'm going to bring it down onto the zip, you know, like it could just, the next thing I know, I'll spend 2 hours repairing a problem that I just created. As the thing slips off, you know, I could very easily put like a sandpaper attachment or some kind of grinding attachment. Try to make quick work of this. I know some people would tell me to do that, but you'd be surprised how, like, already, I mean, I've only made a couple strokes on here, and I've already got a bevel started on this lower part. It really doesn't take much. Aluminum is a soft metal. You know, when you're working with some of those heavier metals, like, I actually like working with brass as far as working with it. It works similarly to aluminum. You could quickly take stuff away on brass and make adjustments with your hand tools. Really love that. That's really cool. But, you know, just the weight of it. I just don't like the weight of brass as far as personal weapon. I don't think a weapon that you're carrying around every day would weigh, you know, 5.5 pounds. I think it would weigh like 1.5 and maybe weigh 2 pounds, right? Maybe it weighs 2.25, maybe it weighs something like that, but have it weigh, you know, 5-6 pounds. And that's too much, I think. I don't think a gun, talking about, you know, personal weapon, like in our world, and you've got a gun or even like a blaster in a Star Wars world, I don't think would be 5 or 6 pounds. I think a blaster maybe would be 3.5 pounds, 4 pounds. But if it was made out of brass or something like heavy, like steel, something like Han Solo's blaster would probably be pretty heavy. I always like to think the Star Wars weapons and tools are made of this like exotic Star Wars stuff, you know, transparent steel or plastisteel, whatever they always talk about that in the novels. I don't remember all the names, but they had, here's some sweet materials that they had designed, thought up. That made sense, you know, transparent steel you could see through, and plastisteel's like plastic. Finish off this nice bevel on the top, and I'm also deleting some of these, just that, like I talked about earlier, it's like two imperfections, and what I mean by that, it was some cut marks from when I'd cut this piece out that just remained a little deeper than I had intended, I guess you could say. that I'm finally almost rid of, just about rid of those. I'll show you in a minute when I show you the close-up here that this will be an improvement to what you saw before. It gets to about this stage, I like to get a little bit of a lighter touch if possible, because by slipping, if you slip at all into soft metal, that aluminum is here, it you know, you can make a little nick mark there, and it's just, you have to spend a little bit of time getting rid of that with your sanding. Just all the metal dust around here. Yeah, off camera, I have an air compressor that when I'm doing assembly, like more like a final assembly, I'll blow off all the parts. Don't want any metal dust anywhere near the electronics. I will probably polish up the hilt before I do the electronics install, and actually, you know, run a cloth on the inside too, some polish, just to get rid of any, you know, the air blower, the air compressor is not going to get rid of every piece of small metal, so I actually wipe the entire thing too when I know I'm done with the machining part. Okay. Oh, there's another part here. That's a nice bevel up top. Bottom more like a little bit of a rounded bevel. Maybe I'll fix that. Where's my, here it is. Get the bottom bevel to be just a little more round. The more and more I work on this lightsaber, the more and more I think of the Jedi Battlemaster that I made. So it's probably, it could be 10 years, it could be like 7, 8, 10 years ago now. But if you look at my channel for Jedi Battlemaster, it was like the length of this, and it did have a hunk of metal that was like up by the choke, or no, it was the whole emitter. I think had many layers of shroud. Has made it very heavy up top, but the way that saber felt was so great that I even had people like ask about that saber like years later, all the time, kind of saying, "Hey, is that Jedi Battlemaster like available?" I was like, "No, you know, sold out a long time ago." But a lot of people still ask about that design. This reminds me of it, because it's like about a 13, 14 inch long saber. Had a emitter with a shroud at something like that. It was a beast of a saber. I called it the Jedi Battlemaster, and I also called it the Hammer, because it had such a hunk. It's kind of why this reminds me of that a little bit. It's like with that up there, I mean, it's like a real weapon as far as if you clock somebody with it. You got some weight behind it, some girth. This would hurt somebody. I wouldn't want to hurt that Suba part though. That's kind of got some thin metal there. That wouldn't be good if you clock somebody with that. Okay. Yeah, I'd be kind of scared if I use, power tools on this at this point, because if I slipped or something, I wouldn't want to hurt the piece. I feel like it's kind of already hard enough to get the bevel to be the way I want, So at least I have the control with my hands. Like, my hands are just on the part under control. So I really have a lot of options here as I move around, and I don't have any dangers, really. I can really get the shape that I want with this bevel, rather than worrying about like something that's spinning around, something that's got a lot of speed to it or whatever. You know what I really wish I had? That like the Sawzall type tool that is, it's not a Sawzall, but it's like a Dremel, but it's a bigger Dremel. You guys know what I'm talking about? I bet you Detroit Custom Sabers probably has one or knows what I'm talking about. But it's like a Dremel like this with the changeable like cutting wheels and stuff. But it's like that big beefier one that's like really professional one. I think I should get one of those, because I could cut through metal like this a lot easier with like a more powerful Dremel. I think is like just a regular Dremels for this type of cutting, for your shroud cutting, for all your normal TCSS stuff. They don't sell this particular pipe at TCSS. I think I got this on Amazon or Online Metals. For something like this, that powerful, like big cutting wheel tool would work a lot better than just a Dremel with a cutting wheel. It's more for small jobs. Great for your MHS parts, great for your MHS shroud, but for thick pipe like this or anything else that's like steel or harder, one of those more professional tools probably better. Okay. Oh, that's a problem with when you want it to be perfect, and it's not the easiest thing to get perfect, but do the best we can. Jake Soft is here. What's going on, buddy? Hey, Space, how did you get that merch you're wearing? Oh, I made it myself, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, I should put these shirts on the Civilized Sabers website. I have another design too. I have probably a cooler design. Like Harris likes the other design better. I should get them all made and put them on the website. You know what I was doing for a while was sending shirts out. When I made a blade or a saber, I'd send out a shirt, but I ran out of shirts. I've only got like a couple. I got like a couple girl sizes left. But men's sizes, I think I just had like a couple, like a medium and a large or something that I just started wearing. And that was it. I ran out of all my extra larges, all my men's sizes. Oh yeah, oh, I still see a little bit of imperfection there. I don't like that. Fix this a little bit. The bevels are important to me. I think the bevels are important to the way the look is at the end, because that's where the light reflects off of. If you don't get like the proper look on the bevel, the light won't be returned the way you want. Melissa's World says, oh wait, let me go back one second. Detroit Custom Sabers, Space, when do oh, here we go. Space, when do I completely understand? I agree. It's always good to do things by hand. I do a lot of hand filing, decorative filing, and engraving with hammer and chisel. That sounds like a lot of fun, dude. Oh man, like I wanted to engrave a saber for like kind of like the whole time that I've been building sabers, like maybe 10 years. I've been wanting to engrave one like by hand. And I guess, you know what it is? Like, it's probably, I'm a little scared. Like, I'm a little scared to put, and I have a couple like little Dremel engravers. I don't know if that's how you would do it with something like that, or just a little chisel and a little hammer. I don't know, but you know, I have one of these little Dremel engravers. I don't know if I'm going to try that. I don't know if I'm going to try the way you do it. But I do want to try it. I've got some ideas, you know, and I'm a little scared to, I guess, like, you know what I should probably do is just do it to like a blank part, and that way if it, you know, right, if it doesn't work out well, then oh well, it's just an MHS part. It's not that big a deal. I guess I'm afraid to, you know, try it for the first time on like a finished saber, but there's no reason why I should try it on a finished saber. Melissa's World says, yeah, I always suspected corruption on set. If I was hanging with Anakin, I try to help him. I say, Annie, are you okay? Detroit Custom Sabers says, another thing, Bert, if you ever want to get a milling machine for yourself, there's quite a few places online that you can get a real good deal on a hobby milling machine. That's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah, Jake the Snake 1417 says, yeah, Dremel can catch and carry on by accident across the piece. Yeah, oh, that sucks so bad, let me tell you. Oh, I hate that. That's a couple times that happened, you know. I mean, if I was in my younger days with like, if I had the temper I did when I was, you know, a teenager, I may have launched some of these parts across the room. But the way I get angry in my current years, my later years, is it's like internal, you know. It's like yeah, you guys hear me yelling about Star Wars a lot. Like, that's a certain type of anger, but like a true anger, if I had ruined something, I wouldn't throw it. I would just probably leave the room and come back in 4 or 5 hours to restart. But it's usually just like a self-hate, you know, won't really come out in like an anger that anyone would be able. I mean, maybe there's a couple curse words or something like that happen. Maybe I'm underestimating, but I certainly would have gotten mad if I was, you know, a teenager and I was doing this and something went wrong. Probably because it would have maybe, you know, meant more in regards to money if I couldn't, you know, maybe get another part, or you know, depending on how much time I had wasted on something, and have it be broken or something. But sometimes when you're doing the lightsaber stuff, you can salvage. If something goes wrong, it's usually a way to salvage. Oh yeah, see, that's not quite perfect up there. It's not quite perfect. Let me see. Maybe I can do it with this. Oh yeah, I kind of see why that happened too. Like, things got off a little bit on this because, at least on that one side, I kind of see why. So to even that out a bit. There's just like something rewarding, like doing it by hand. Other than the fact that, you know, it sounds cool. Say like, oh, that was done by hand, did that by hand. Handmade, right? But something fulfilling about it, I guess, if you're working on it, and lets you don't have to think about your other problems. You get to think about just this one problem. So rather than, you know, you might think you got XYZ to do, or maybe it's an appointment, a certain time you have to be somewhere. To be honest, I kind of hate that, right? I hate like when there's a time where you have to be somewhere. I feel like that time comes up so fast. So if someone invites you to their wedding and they're saying, oh, you know, the wedding's August 4th. All of a sudden it's August 4th. It's not even your wedding, you know, you're just going. But all of a sudden it's August 4th. How did that happen? Whenever there's an appointment, that appointment date reaches so quickly. that it's kind of scary, right? But when you're doing something like this, you're focused on something like a hobby of yours. For me, it's this. But when you're focused on something that's your hobby, you really like for me, it's this or drawing. That's when the time can go by. You don't even think about it. That's why you can't place any appointments near saber time, because I might not make it. I might not make it because if I be saber fine, I'm saber fine. And all of a sudden, 3 or 4 hours went by. And if there's an appointment anywhere near there, like I'm not looking at I haven't looked at the clock. I don't even look at my phone. You guys can probably tell I haven't even looked at my phone because it's in my pocket. I have it on silent. I just, I don't know. Sometimes I think, like, how could if someone was calling me for help, I'm probably not the right person to call. You got to call 911 or something, because I'm not a good phone answerer. I don't even hear it. Even when the ringer's turned up, I don't even hear it. I'm kind of bad with that, so. Lost time, someone said, what were you doing from 5 o'clock on? I don't even. Can anyone account for your location? Huh? I don't know. I was I was lost in space. Get my friends to tell you where I was. They were watching me online, making the saber. That's my alibi. Yeah, this is starting to look really, really nice, this piece. I'm pretty happy. It's still a little bit off. A couple more minutes, and then we'll get it on there and see how it looks. Maybe like 2 more minutes on this. Trying to make this piece even. I don't know how it got uneven. I could have sworn it was even, but sometimes what I'll do is I can also use hand file up, for bigger movements like this. I've also done it where I lay the hand file down. I could rub the piece along the hand file. There's lots of ways you could try it. Like, you guys have seen me try to do it with my, try to sand it with left hand, right hand. But for me, I found that the right hand a lot faster. Try to be ambidextrous. It's not always working. The left hand is clumsier and slower. Okay. All right. It's not perfect, but we will try it on for size anyway. Why not? Get some of this dust out of here. Have to wipe this area down later. So my steel wool here, like 0, 0, 0. Grit, and this is just for cleanup. Get my shirt back out here. This is the shirt I'm gonna wear after the stream. What do you guys think? That's a good one? Yeah, wear this for dinner. It's some nice and fresh. Well, I still see imperfection at the top, but you guys will just have to forgive that. That'll come out at a later date. We'll have to get that out later. But for now, just make it presentable, you know? Just like how I'm gonna look for dinner in my new t-shirt. I'm gonna look presentable. I want this piece. You know, obviously at the end, I'll polish it up like the real way. I'm just doing it by hand for now, and maybe make it. I hope it fits on there. I think this is a little. I hope I don't have to sand the inside. No, I think this piece is a little bigger MHS part. We'll soon find out. Will this fit on Malcolm's saber? We will find out. Yeah, you guys will we'll just have to forgive some of these imperfections for now. We'll get rid of them later. Just want to see how this might look up there. You know, maybe Malcolm will watch this video later. We'll fast forward to the end. He'll be able to see, oh, look, they got my emitter partially done. Got my collar partially sanded down. Certainly a lot cleaner than it looked yesterday. What I think I'll do next time we work on Malcolm's saber, I'll put in the Graflex lines on this pommel piece. I don't know if that's showing up for you guys, but this drawing right here, it has some Graflex lines on the shroud piece that the belt clip is attached to near the pommel. So not only does he need a belt clip attached, but we will also need to just put in those Graflex, which is easy. I already got out the pipe cutter, but we might take care of that. You know, next stream. Maybe finish. Maybe get going on the Qui-Gon piece that's below this piece here. This piece is supposed to like not look exactly like a Darth Vader emitter, but it's supposed to just give that impression of that beefy Darth Vader collar or emitter that is on that Darth Vader saber. So at the end, this will be painted black. All right, so let me get rid of this. Nice clean t-shirt here. Okay. Yeah, that's a bad divot up there. Well, striving for perfect. That's a problem. Striving for perfection in Malcolm's saber. Can it be? Can we make it perfect? I say we can't, but we can try. try as hard as Yoda says to try, right? This is where we're choosing to focus our Jedi powers tonight. Instead of saving kittens out of trees, I'm making an emitter. You guys think I should be out there saving kittens? Meow. There's some up there caught in a tree. What? We'll have to figure out another way down. All right, so without further ado, I want to keep you guys waiting here all night just to see this piece on there, but okay. All right, the moment of truth is here. Let's try to put this on the saber. What I'll do in the final build, if the hole here is too big, so if it's loose on there, what I'll do is I'll build up the level of the surface of the lightsaber here with aluminum tape. So aluminum tape is actual aluminum. So when it's adhered to the hilt, if for instance this is too big, once I put the aluminum on the hilt, that'll shore up this will kind of be, we'll try to get it to where we'll suction this on, and then I'll drill a few holes through this to secure it onto the hilt itself. When the time comes, maybe the next time we do the stream, or maybe the time after. Have to see how far we get on the Qui-Gon piece. What I'd like to do is have all the shrouds, all the parts there, I think, before I permanently adhere any of them. So I just want to, lay it out, lay it in front of all of us, see how it looks. Then, eyeball it, see what has to be done. Okay. Okay, so let me kind of undo the hilt here. No, right here. Yep. I have MHS within reach. MHS lube not within reach. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. The Saber Forge part is a little bit wider, it seems, maybe by a millimeter than MHS. Let's try to deburr here. Maybe that's part of it. Deburr this part. Maybe that's what was stopping it. That part's not quite fitting on just yet. Fits on one part of it, but not the other. So sand this down a little bit and see if you guys are telling me anything. Johan is here. Hey there, Tyrone. What's going on, buddy? Detroit Custom Lightsabers says, I disagree. Every lightsaber is built differently and uniquely to the needs of the wielder. Some may want a very hard material. Some may want a lightweight material. I personally enjoy steel sabers. Nice. What's your favorite steel saber? I know the Graflex is made out of steel, but that's it's very thin, so it's hard to tell by the weight that it's steel. But that's like the most famous one that I know of that's made of steel. Oh, thanks, Bert. Bert says, don't forget to hit the like button so SpaceWIndu keeps doing live stream builds. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. I hope you hit the like button. That does help. May the force be with you too. Put my YouTube avatar on the sleeve with engraving. That's an idea. Yeah, sometimes saber building is finger effing apart. That's what's happening right now. Sometimes that happens. Like people are like, let's see you make a video about some of the stuff you do to make a saber. I'm like, you know how how boring some of that is and how weird some of that is. But it is what it is. Okay, Melissa's gonna take a break. Her allergies are bothering her. Get some air, unless getting air is bad. Maybe if it's outside air, maybe it's not good. Oh, thanks so much, Malcolm. He's gonna throw in a cheeseburger for me. That would be excelente. I would love a cheeseburger. Had a cheeseburger yesterday. I got a bunch of burgers in the fridge. I'll probably have another cheeseburger today. Try to get some vegetables in there. I gotta get some vegetables in me, but used to eat a bunch of salads. I went to a place that had a really good salads, and then this whole thing happened, and you know, I'm not going to work. I'm still working, but I'm working from home, so I don't drive past that place with the salads anymore. Now I'm home just like eating like cereal and burgers and just like goofy stuff that I make. It's like the only thing like food-wise I'm good at making is stuff that tastes good. Like cookies and pies and stuff. I'm not really good at making food. All right. See if that did anything. Now, you know what? That's a little too tight. So I'm going to have to sand that out. But actually, talk about the way you could do it with a drill. I made this contraption, which is like a drill bit on one end that can go into my drill, you know, a drill socket, and then a blade tube here that I can actually cover with some sandpaper. Let's see if this ends up being thick enough. What I like to do is, okay, so it's going to spin this way. No, that's not the right way. It's going to actually have to, so we have to think about that. Well, actually I could reverse the drill, so it doesn't matter, but just the way the drill is going to spin, I'm trying to take into account here. Yeah, this is like really good trick that save you some time when you need to, rather than you know, finger effing the part. we need to drill out the inside of the part, this is one way we can do it. So I'll get some strong tape out here. Sometimes my aluminum tape does work for this for me. Pretty strong stuff. I think one of my favorite things is aluminum tape, to be honest. I love aluminum tape. Just like cover my bedroom with aluminum tape or something. Maybe then them aliens won't be able to get me. Okay, so I don't know if that's going to really hold for too long. Let's see what happens. Oh, this could be fun. This could be fun. See what happens here. Drill that way. Okay, that's the way I want to go. And if I do it right, this could really work well. It's actually going to require special equipment mask. All right, maybe that was enough. It's heating up, so we'll see in a minute. Okay, hopefully that did it. Let me see here. Jake, you're funny, bro. I think I'll just chill out and watch Netflix tonight. Wait, SpaceWIndu is working on sabers. Grabs tools to get to work. I guess I inspired you too. You can't watch me work because then you'll start to feel bad about your projects. Your project's sitting there too. I know that feeling. I know that feeling. You know, I have a lot of my workout equipment out here on the other side here, and be doing my, you know, karate workout. And my karate teachers, he asked me one time. He said, you know, something seems wrong. Like what's this? Something's distracting you, or? And I was like, you know what? I think it's not the best thing to be like doing my workout right over there when all of my work is right over here. Because I'm doing the workout and maybe there's a timer, or maybe I'm looking over and I'm just thinking, you know, I gotta work on that saber. I should finish up this workout, you know, and start to get distracted. So I really probably should have a separate place for that, but it's kind of all wrapped into the spaceship here. And I'm always thinking, oh, I should get to work. I should get to work. Oh, it's so close. It's close. It's almost fitting. We're almost there with this part. You guys like my lathe? Almost. PPE. All right, now it's got me sweating because the part just got so hot. We got to pray to the saber gods right now. Join me in a prayer to the saber gods. We need this part to fit. If you pray long enough and sand hard enough, the saber gods might answer. They might have an answer for us tonight. It's like, what do you think? The saber gods are going to perform some kind of miracle overnight? It takes more than 7 days. It took only 7 days to make the Earth, but it's going to take a lot longer to make a saber. It sort of fits. Let's see how it goes here. That part fits, but what's stopping this? Well, looks like there's gonna have to be some more sanding done there. But I think I could show you guys kind of what the idea here is. So, as you might know, we have a shroud over top one of the bottom pieces here. Underneath here is an MHS extension, and this is a crystal chamber. And then here is another MHS extension that we're going to have a 4 1/4 inch piece of shroud that goes over this. That's going to have some like Qui-Gon style cutouts. And we have this collar, which it's going right below the emitter here. Now, it's kind of warm to sand anymore, but this is basically, let's see, it's actually going to be more like this. So that'll be sunk deeper into that collar. It's like floating above it right now because I can't insert it. So the hilt is appearing about 1 inch longer than it's actually going to be right now. You can see there's a space there with some more space in there. That's supposed to actually screw in, but I'll have to do some more sanding on that part. But I think you're kind of getting the idea of this is going to be, like I said before, it's going to kind of be like the size of my old Jedi Battlemaster lightsaber, maybe about 13.5 inches long, and it's going to be pretty beefy. I'm going to have some time to decide about this Darth Vader piece here, this Darth Vader clamp, like how I want that to be. Like maybe we'll put it off to the side, like it'll kind of be off to one side, and then we'll have the hilt with all its shroud pieces there. This will be the thickest point. Actually, the Suba will be the widest point. Then we'll step down to this level, and then we'll have an MHS shroud size, with diameter lightsaber. So if you know what an MHS shroud feels like to hold, that's the diameter here, or how it will be at the end for this two-handed lightsaber. So I think when we come back to work on Malcolm's saber again, I will probably have this fitted already, and we'll be on to working on another piece. But I do want to get this to sink fully into there without, I don't want to sand down this part here. I want to sand the inside of this instead. So I'll have to just do that and get that prepared. So I'll show you guys next time how that's going to actually look when it's screwed in. But that fits over that piece quite nicely. And these lines here, that these cutouts are just going to follow the cutouts of the shroud. So where this cutout is going to aim for that shroud piece, and that's how the lines are going to go on the saber. I'm actually going to follow that size for the cutouts of the Qui-Gon part as well, and we'll just follow it all the way down wherever we need to make our screw holes and stuff. We'll make sure everything's very very worked out in advance, very symmetrical if possible, although a lot of Star Wars stuff is asymmetrical. Like the clamp will be off to one side, that'll be asymmetrical, but we'll have a lot of stuff that's symmetrical on the piece as well. So thank you so much to everybody that was watching today and commenting. I really appreciate you all being here. Thanks for joining us with Malcolm's birthday celebration. We had a lot of fun. It actually went a little bit longer than I thought I was going to go. I did lose track of time. I was kind of just sanding and stuff and talking to you guys, and I don't know how like 4 hours went by just now, but I think I got a bunch done on that part, at least from my point, from my angle here. This is looking, you know, I wanted this part when it's all done to look like it came out of the Apple store, like an Apple computer part. And I'm on my way there. You know, I think it's, I see some imperfections. I see some things that I'm going to alter and fix. But for the most part, it's getting there. I really am happy with this bevel along the top. I think that looks cool. And the roundness of the bevels coming out on the bottom. Also tried to do a bit of a bevel there. But this part needs some more work. This kind of a claw part needs some more work to just, as you can see, it's kind of rough still. And I'm still, to be honest, I'm still kind of deciding on the angle of those parts of like these two sections. I'm still deciding whether I want it to be straight or at a little bit of an angle. So I'm just avoiding that part for now because I'm thinking about that, but I'm also fixing some imperfections I see at the top. So yeah, you know, that's for sure like the hardest part of the saber is just getting this part done, because this is like really hard to work with that material, but everything else should go pretty smoothly. And once this is settled, this collar part and screwed in, that could take some time. We'll probably do that on a stream where we drill some holes and get that tapped. That might be kind of fun, but it's harrowing in a sense because when I'm tapping this thick metal, you know, something could go wrong. So you have to be very, very careful. Use the oil and be very slow in and out type of thing with your tap. We will get that settled in there, probably a recharge port on there, and work our way down. Figure out a good place for the buttons. I think I got a couple ideas. Got a couple ideas on the drawing that may or may not work anymore. So I'm not sure when. It probably won't be tomorrow. We'll do this in a couple days again, and I think we'll make it kind of a series. If you guys are having fun building with me or watching me build. You're making me hungry, Bert says. Yeah, I'm gonna go eat. I'm gonna go eat something myself. How do I go join in live like Malcolm did? I will send you the link. You know, I'll bounce you back a link from that email you sent me yesterday, Bert. So the next time we do this, you can pop in. That'll be cool. That'll be really cool. You know, I could also put the link like in the chat, but it's kind of hard since I'm like far away from the computer. It's better if I'll send it to you before the show starts. That way I don't have to keep walking back toward the computer and stuff like that. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Definitely come back for the next one. We're gonna finish out this lightsaber, take a couple more steps with it, get it farther along, and you guys can be here and be part of that. And Malcolm will come in, maybe Bert will come in, get some friends to join in as well. I know Harris and Gabe said they might have time to come in, but I don't know if I missed them because I was kind of working and I'm far away from the computer. But and I wasn't looking at my phone, unfortunately. My phone's over there. But yeah, so if you did like the video, please like it and hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And definitely come back next time. There's more here to do on this saber, bunch of other sabers as well, and we can make progress together. So thanks again, everybody. Oh, Bert says I'm on my own again. Okay, see you soon. All right, Bert. Yeah, definitely enjoy your night, and we'll get together again soon. I'll have you on here. It'll be fun.